shirt on.
Oh man, I got a podcast without.
No, I'm talking to Otter.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Saturday night, and Next Podcast is live. Yo, guys, we are having a blast off the air, and I think that's gonna roll right over to this live show. Huge shout out to everybody in the chat. I want to give a special shout out to a huge supporter of this show, of course, Phantom Beat, who was the first person in the chat. Man, what's up? Welcome to this episode of Next Podcast. Guys, we are going in today. We have a bunch of great topics, and we gotta do the intros first. So let me start with the most part-time, full-timer on this panel. Of course, I am talking Dark Optimus.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Happy to be here. You know, I'm back.
Good to have you
back
on,
to
man.
I'm back to give the savagery back to K Mega. You know, just. Oh God, I missed it last week. I wanted it. There was times where I was listening to it where I was like, there's something right there I could have said.
Yo, Mega,
but
as he was listening to it, he was literally coming back with comebacks like he's
I
talking
was.
at the show.
I was talking at the screen, and I was like, oh shit, that's right, I'm not there. But yeah, man, I'm happy to be here, ready to get into these topics, dude.
Nice. And next on the list.
Sorry, everyone. I have to, I have to rub one out before I get into the podcast.
You like that one
Sorry.
better?
I like that one more than the other one. That sounds like there's an angry otter choking a goose, and they're both.
Well,
It's the same one. It just goes longer.
But this one sounds like I'm jerking it, and I like it.
Dude.
Man, if you're making that noise when you're...
Yeah, I know.
Oh, man, you got trouble,
Your
man.
neighbors must hate
Hey,
you, man.
sometimes you gotta rub one out before you get on a podcast.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
I
saying.
didn't think you had to
man.
sound like that to do it. But anyway, man. Yo, next
Too much
on
information.
the list, we'll go with, this man who's coming live from the 405. And I think Dark Optimus is saying that he is his personal rival. So I am... Off the rails. Off the rails.
Yeah.
So everybody, welcome.
You gotta bring it back.
Oh,
So let's
brother.
go ahead. Now that K Mega is back where he belongs, on top with the gameplay, I'm going to celebrate by cracking open this Crown Black. And if Otter steps out of line, I'm going to tear his mutt ass up because I don't even know what nationality he is. So
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
You just automatically thought you're like the melting pot. You just have everything in you, man.
We
So
have
just
everything on this show.
I mean, at least I'm not a mud baby.
Oh.
Oh, man. That's not okay.
Whoa.
This show is going to be off the rails. We need Predator or Snap to come in here and take control.
The two people that can keep things under control are not here right now. Predator, it is his
Fred was
birthday.
just smacking, talking about penis teaming.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah,
The
that's
lip
exactly what
smacking.
we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, this gameplay looks great. I'm glad to be here as always.
You
know
like
what I'm
the
saying?
look with the diamonds and everything falling, man?
It's
Like,
fitting, yeah. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Diamonds are forever. And, you know what I'm saying? Me being
Are they?
back where I belong on top without a crap gamer's assistant, bastard.
oh, no.
And everything is all good. So definitely for next week's gameplay is going to be absolutely better than what this is. So get ready for that.
Nice. Well, let me introduce next on the list. He does have that super fan out there on Twitter that gets everybody to vote for his gameplay. Guys,
Crap gamer.
your lights are flickering. Everybody in the chat, stand up. Show that respect. Kiss that ring. The Don.
I'm not sure what you guys are talking about. He's just one man.
He's just one man.
He exercises his right to vote just like anybody else.
I don't know if he exercises, but he definitely
Oh,
does a
snap.
pinky finger on it.
Oh,
you know?
man,
Wow.
you didn't go after a man's weight. That ain't right.
That's horrible.
No, I love crap.
You think I start talking about his muffin
big-
top, and that's
big
not
body-
right.
Big body men need love too, damn it.
Yeah.
I know personally. Let's go.
All right, well, guys, like I said, we have a list of topics that we have to go through, but we also got some breaking news from Alan Walsh on Twitter. For people who don't know, he is majorly into Forza news, and it seems that Forza Horizon 2 is going to go end of life September 30th this year. So, I guess basically that means they're taking it off the store. They're taking all the DLC out of the store September 30th, and you won't be able to purchase it. I even saw somewhere that you should probably have the game, if you still want to play it, like installed on your system or whatnot. I gotta ask, yo, Don, what do you think about this? I don't think you really got into Forza Horizon 2 that much, but what do you think about it going end of life September 30th, man?
Do you was it because of the music contracts on that game? Is that what's going on there?
Yeah, see, that's another thing, and the reason why it's because of the car license, the music license. I guess when it comes to Forza itself, they sign 4-year contracts for the licenses of the music and the cars. So it looks like every 4 years, there's going to be every year now, moving forward, there's going to be a Forza that gets end of life. So, it was Forza 5 last year. It's Horizon 2 this year. So it looks like Motorsport 6 next year. And it's just going to keep on going down the line.
You can still download it if you own it, right?
See, I don't know, man. I don't know. It was breaking news. I didn't get to asking too many questions or anything like that.
Because that's what most of it. How that works is if you already own it, you own the license. But what they can't do is any additional sales, as far as I understand. So if it was in Game Pass, I think they would have to remove it. If it was just on the Microsoft Store, they would have to remove it. In that sense. So, yeah, I mean that's kind of how those deals work. And I mean, is it really even worth re-signing those things up for an older game that's not going to continue to sell on the platform? Because I mean, you have to make those hard calls as far as all that stuff is concerned. So. I did play Forza Horizon 2 because for some reason Bot's still ahead of me in the leaderboard and he doesn't play Forza anymore. So I did do my time at Forza Horizon 2.
And you
just
still got to do more. I'm still number 1.
I still have more to do. Yeah, there's no doubt that I still have some more grinding to do. But I finished 2 and I finished 1. I went back and still didn't like those games all that much. They weren't quite the polish that 3 obviously was, and 3 is what finally sucked me into it. So. But yeah, I mean it's unfortunate, but those sort of contracts have expiration dates for continuous sales. I mean it's just how it goes.
Well, I think this is I don't know. It's weird to me. It's like I don't think I've really seen this before when it comes to a franchise where you're gonna keep seeing like the previous entry. Like you're gonna see now it's Horizon 2 next year. When you project it, it's gonna be Motorsport 6. How do you feel about that every 4-year situation? And
it's not gonna be Motorsport 6.
Why not?
Because they own the music license. Well, maybe not own all the cars. Maybe there's a restriction there. Maybe I don't know about the car license, but the music wouldn't be an issue on the Motorsport series. It would just be an issue on the Horizon series.
It would be the car, but they even Alan Walsh did state that the cars and music licenses they're only for 4 years.
Yeah, I mean that could be it. I mean, but you don't know because they have to like renew the car license, and I don't know how that carries over between all the Forzas. Mm-hmm. Because there's certain cars you just have to continue to have, like a Honda Civic, right? You got to have that in the next Forza.
You got to have that CRX that looks like the back end of the car is chopped off, man.
Exactly. You gotta have that old CRX because people used to. Their first car was that, and they used to deliver pizzas in it, so therefore they want to play that car on
my
a track.
friend got that car up to 500 horsepower, man.
Yeah, I mean the Dodge Omni. I mean that has to continue to be in the next Forza. Like, I don't know how renewing the license actually works. To be honest with you, I don't know if it carries between multiple versions of Forza or just one or not. I mean that's why I make my own content that I don't have to license out from somebody else.
So you make your own music? We're gonna get your own music in Project Pimp Cup?
We're gonna own the rights to it. So
come on.
if I have to hire someone to do it,
man. I wanted to hear
music. No. That's gonna be just really bad Euro beats, and that's not gonna be right.
Well, just one more thing, real quick, and I'm gonna move on to the rest of the panel. Sleepy Goblin, who is on Twitter, and he says it's specifically to be able to vote for the gameplay for this show you're watching right now. But Sleepy Goblin was like, didn't they just put Horizon 2 in gold? So Don, do you think this is what's going to happen with Forza? Like, as the game goes end of life, like maybe a couple months before time, you'll see that iteration of Forza in gold for people to download and get it for free, and then it'll go off the store.
Yeah, I mean that might be a preemptive strike to not only give good value for gold members, but to kind of preserve that license out there for gamers. I mean, I don't know. I mean, just these are things I'm glad I don't have to make these sort of decisions as far as this stuff goes, because that sucks, man. You put all this hard work and people can no longer buy it. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or 1,000 sales. Like that just sucks when you put all that work into it and people can't continue to purchase it. So, it just sucks for those people. But download it now when you can and go from there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Well, Mega, what do you think about this deal, man? Like, we just had this game go as a game with gold, so it went free to everybody. Now it's going end of life, September 30th. You can't even get the DLC or anything anymore, man. How do you feel about that, dude?
No, look, I knew something was up because I've been playing this. I got back on it here recently, last couple of months, because I've never really finished it's not so much the campaign but the championships, and I don't know what the hell I was doing when it first came, because I put in like 70 hours into the game, but I played a lot of online and didn't really mess with the with the championship thing in here in the Horizon. But anyway, the deal with it is that when I knew something was wrong was that I was, the paint jobs and the custom paint jobs that you can get through it and everything, you can't get them no more. They say they're temporarily disabled.
Really?
And I was kind of like, wow, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I was glad that I got as many as I did, even though there was a lot that that were taken down, because from when I first started playing, you've seen all different types of different custom designs that you can choose from. So it got really limited to now you can't even do it. So it makes sense, I guess, but it is unfortunate. But as long as you can still keep playing the game, it's fine. I played Forza 5 earlier this year, back in January, just because I just wanted to see the difference between 7 and 5. And I remember telling somebody, I think it was 100. I was like, man, this game still looks good. I said, but it's like night and day between the way 7 looks and the way 5 looks, and the way that they play, because 7 is so smooth. But it was but yeah, no, you can still play it because I got it. I mean, I put it in my my little storage bin or whatever. But I'm sure that I could just reload it. But if anybody's interested and wanting to get Forza 2, man, then now is the time to get it, because I had the unfortunate pleasure of not getting keep pushing the the Ultimate Alliance games. Like, man, they're too expensive, and then there was a sale for them for $10, and I said, I'll get it this day, and the next thing you know, they discontinued it. So if you're interested,
people voted for this bullshit gameplay. Oh my god!
Gotta love it. It's great.
Well, I will say, Otter's got some quality gameplay, man. I can't wait until
Finally?
that pops up. Yeah.
Oh wow! Damn.
He put a little effort. Like, he's got like 35% effort in on his gameplay right now. Like,
I was
it's
like,
looking
man, we got to
good.
drain the swamp, man. That 15 minutes is dog shit. We got to sit there and you know what I'm saying? But finally, I can't wait to see it, Otter. Finally, you stepping up, man. Great.
Well, I gotta ask, Dark, man, what do you think about this? Like, they just gave this game out. Now people who are getting into this game might be getting into the championships, all that good stuff, haven't played it before. They only have a certain amount of time to get, I think it's Storm Island and the DLC that goes along with it. How do you feel about, like, possibly
Fast and Furious too? That was a dope ass.
And that
DLC.
one was free, right?
Yeah,
I downloaded it for free anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you feel about the kind of like that 4-year licensing, and now how we have the possibility of seeing like a Forza every year now down the road going away, basically, man.
Well, I mean, this is a niche title, so I mean,
I knew it. I knew it.
No, Honestly, man, I think it sucks that this is kind of happening. I mean, I don't know how they're gonna work this to if you're still gonna be able to play it while it's even though the license is over. Are you
Well,
still
I
since
think Mega
since you have it
answered that.
downloaded? Is it
You
fine?
can still play, yeah. Because I mean, like I
Okay,
said, I
so
played
so
5 in January this year.
Now, if you
okay.
take it off your hard drive, can you re-download it if you purchased it? Is that?
Yeah,
I
Uh,
think that might
that's a
be an
good
issue.
question.
no, I don't. I don't. You know what? I'm gonna do that right now. Let me go ahead and.
We got people testing stuff out as the show goes on. What's going on? Yeah.
Because I mean that right there would be kind of like a shitty thing if you can't
Yeah, that was.
re-download it. You know,
Yeah.
it always sucks to see a game kind of lose its life. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, well, with Forza, they do a especially with the Horizon series. It's every 2 years that you get a new Forza. So I mean, you know, yeah, to go back and play Forza Horizon 2 is fun, but a lot of people are still playing, Forza Horizon 3. People are gearing up for Forza Horizon 4. It's
Well, with
kind of
Horizon
like
3, we only got 2 years, man. We only got 2 years, and then like
I know that, but I mean, 2 years after that, what are we gonna have? Forza Horizon 5. So I mean, it's not really like, oh my god, I can't believe I can't play Forza Horizon 3. I mean, it does suck, but at the same time, it's like, well, am I really going to be playing it 10 years down the line? Not necessarily. I mean, because, there will be people who will want to play it, 10 years down the line or whatever.
10
Especially
years is a
with,
little far though for
well,
me.
yeah, 10 years is probably a little far, maybe like 5 years or something
Was
like
it
that.
last generation, like the 360 PS3 era, lasted like 8 years, right?
Yeah, something like that.
And I
Like
wasn't I
16,
wasn't
yeah.
playing launch titles at that point in time, so
Right, exactly, and that's the thing. You look at like games like Halo 2 that went down. I mean, yeah, it did get revamped for the Master Chief Collection. So I mean, we could see something like that happen with these kind of games too. Where they kind of do like a remaster or a full on
the
collection
relicense
of the
edition,
game.
yeah.
Yeah, relicensed edition or something like that. Put different music in it or something. They might try to kind of bring more life to those games or whatever.
Mhm.
It's just it is sad to see something like this happen to especially since Horizon is kind of like I favor Horizon over the motorsport just because I like more of the arcadey type of
Yeah, you're more
racing.
you're more of a casual gamer. We got you, man.
Yeah, I
Mm,
mean,
mm.
it's fine. But I just I didn't really play too much of Forza Horizon 1. I played a lot of Forza Horizon 2. I mean, I re-downloaded it for free when it went to um, uh, Games with
Xbox Live.
Gold,
Mhm.
Oh, so
Xbox
you're, so
Live,
you're
Games
not
with Gold.
casual, you're cheap.
Oh yeah, I'm a cheap. Yeah, no, you're
Damn.
absolutely right. I am cheap. I
Damn.
can wait.
I cannot say
Unlike some
that.
people in this community who can't wait for
The
their
Otter has kindly
games.
purchased me at least 2 games. I cannot
I
say
did.
he's cheap, people.
No, I mean, it is what it is, man. These games, they bound to die eventually.
Hmm.
Not everybody's gonna play these games, 5, 10 years down the
So
line. It's just
do you think that they should maybe do you think that they should lengthen the contract, maybe add a year, or do you think 4 years is pretty good when it comes to Forza games? Now I know you're not the biggest fan of racers, but what do you think on that, man?
I think for Forza, yeah, like they don't really need to. I think lengthen the contracts for the music licenses. I think it's really more along the lines of like who's playing it at the time. I'm sure if there was a ton of people still playing Forza Horizon 2, they probably would have tried to do something to keep that going. Um, but since there's really not, I think they were kind of like, well, we'll give it for free. We'll let people download it, so then they'll still have it. They'll
And
still be
hopefully
able to
they'll run
play
out
it.
and get the DLC before we shut it
Right.
down. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
They've been
So,
having a lot of the add-on sales. They even got an add-on sale right now going on. So
Well, I do want to say, Otter Antonio in the chat
yeah,
saw your Doom gameplay. It was just like Doom. So you got
I know.
a
I saw
fan
I'm
right
glad.
there.
I'm glad
I got one more thing though. But Saltiest, I think I might have started a war between you and
you
Salty
did.
because
It's nice going, dude.
Otter hasn't bought Salty anything. So
Well,
So I guess I'm getting his vote. Is what I'm hearing.
I mean, you get everybody's vote, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Okay.
no,
That sounds
I
about right.
can't vote at all
I can't.
because it's
I don't.
on my Twitter.
I don't think so because last
Well,
time I checked, you see
yeah,
the
but-
diamonds on my name.
Yeah, but Mega.
Yeah, it's because he
Don
didn't go
was-
up against.
Uh-oh. Hello. We have lost them, people.
Hey,
They'll
man,
be back. There we
everybody
go.
just vote for Otter so like he can be K Mega against Don, and then we just mute crap gamers ass, and then we'll see.
Dude, my
We'll
gameplay is
stuff.
in here too. I'm just saying, like, why do we gotta vote for Otter?
Mega, don't bro. We all know you're ducking my gameplay. It's all good.
Oh my goodness. Well, guys,
no, I ain't never ducking your gameplay, bro. Come on now, come on.
guys, what my final suggestion?
Actually,
when it
I
comes-
would like to have a week off. People, come on.
You just had a week off, man.
Of
you
gameplay.
did.
A lot of weeks.
Of gameplay.
He's got 2 weeks vacation.
Yeah.
But
Of gameplay. I gave you gameplay last week, damn it.
You did.
So don't
You
give me
did.
none of that
And
shit.
it stayed right in the spot where all your other gameplay was.
Oh,
and look at that, we
shit.
got
Oh.
Forza. We got Forza Horizon gameplay going on. And on that note, I just want to say, if they're gonna do 4-year contracts and they're gonna make these games end of life after 4 years, possibly put it in Games with Gold a little bit earlier so it doesn't look like a rush job when it comes to DLC and stuff like that. You could give people a chance to play the core game a little bit more without having that deadline approaching, and they'll possibly get whatever DLC you have for the title. Other than that, I mean, 4 years seems pretty much spot on. I would be happy if they added an extra year, but I'm not gonna.
I think Need for
It's,
Speed has the same problem too.
It might.
It's
I was
come
gonna
up a
say
couple
something.
times in the shows.
It's
Oh,
downloading right now. I
Yeah.
had it to my ready install, but what took me so long is that I had to take games. I had to uninstall some games because my hard drive is almost full. It's like 99.6%.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
you got an external too, right?
yeah, the external and the internal are
How much?
both
How
very
much
high.
memory, man? How much are like?
How much-
What's your external? What's the size of your external?
It's a 5 gig, and then my
It's all in how you use it. I don't know what
5
you're
gig?
talking about.
Or 500 gig?
I mean, a 5 terabyte. I'm sorry, 5
Five-
terabyte.
I was gonna say 5 gig. I was like, damn,
Five-
dude,
five
you
ter-
ain't
I'm
getting
sorry,
any
five-
games on
Well,
that.
you got like
I'll
half
say
a
that.
title saved on there, and that's it. Like half
Yeah,
the
right.
title.
No,
of
I
the
got.
game.
I'm sorry, man.
He's
5
got one
terabyte.
episode of the
And
Walking
then-
Dead Telltale
and
series.
then, of course, with the X, you get what 1 or 2 terabytes? I can't remember. So
1 terabyte. So you're
1
you're rocking like 6 terabytes. And
I got
pretty much
five.
full.
I got 504 games. So
I
Mega,
need- I
I'm
need
a
to
little
do-
confused. You deleted the game off your hard drive, but somehow you didn't have space for the space you just deleted
Because he filled it in.
to install it
Other
again.
games.
I took
man.
out other games. Well, I knew that I wasn't going to be playing 5 anytime soon, so I was just like, I just went back and I
Oh,
I still had
5,
it there.
gotcha.
Yeah, and so I was just like, I'm not going to play 5 anytime soon. I just
Yo, Salty's laughing at you, man.
my bad, Salty. Come on now. Come on.
Well, guys, let's move on
Little
to
new
the.
booty out here. Don't get started now.
It's okay, Mega. It's all in
I
how
just
you
said
use
5
that 5 gigs, right?
Stop
Wow,
it. It's
wow.
5 terabytes, man.
Before
5
this
terabytes.
gets any worse, guys, Battlefield 5, the pre-orders, they are not hitting numbers that they expected. The pre-orders are significantly lower than like Battlefield 1 and previous Battlefield titles, to the point where it's causing some concern. People are wondering what the hell is going on over there at EA. So I want to get in on this. I heard K-Mega get excited, so I am actually going to go to K-Mega first. Dude, with Battlefield 5, I know you're a Battlefield fan.
Yes.
What's going on with this title? Why do you think the pre-order numbers are so low? What's happening, man?
Well, it's around Thanos, which is Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, it's got a release date around there. Everybody is going to be worried about getting Red Dead.
But I hear Call of Duty's doing just fine right now, man.
Call of Duty always going to have their fan base, but I really do think that once Red Dead is already bought and it's in homes, the game is still going to sell fantastic. I think another thing is that the game hasn't been really advertised fully. I don't know, like EA to me has really been in this generation especially has been in a really crazy situation. I mean, they were supposed to come out with the three-headed monster, which was supposed to be Hardline, Battlefront, and then Battlefield. And so then you have people that may say that they're not really interested in the World War II. They want to have a more modern, a more modern shooter. But if you come to think about what their strategy was that their modern shooter was going to be Hardline, and I love Hardline. I love Hardline now. The way that it plays now, it just took too long for
Well,
Visceral to get
Hardline's
to
like
hit the
cops
line.
and robbers, though, right?
Right, but it was more it was more modern. I mean, just imagine just with the dice engine, what it could do with Hardline 2. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like it would be looking crazy dope, right? But you had to go. Visceral was their first time doing this with Battlefield, and then a lot of people clowned it because it said it looked more like a DLC to Battlefield 4 than it looked like its own game. The story was decent, but again, it just hit the mark, and it took too long for when they did get the game right that anybody really cared, because there was other games that came out. I think Overwatch came out around that year when they finally brought all the great DLC and everything and all the changes to the game, and that definitely killed it. Also, you look at uh, what's going on with Battlefront. Battlefront was supposed to be this new game to go against COD and their three-headed
The Star
monster.
Wars,
And
Star Wars
yeah,
Battlefront 2,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And they fucked up with the loot boxes. So
Big
then when
time,
you look,
big,
yeah,
big
and so
time.
the strategy with Battlefield was like, hey, we can go back to World War One, World War Two, maybe the Korean War, Vietnam, and then build our way that way, and then people will still be satisfied with Hardline, and you have a future shooter with Battlefront. And it all just turned into shit because it never happened. You know, Visceral is gone, Hardline is pretty much dead, and then we don't even know if EA is going to keep the license with Disney on Star Wars anymore. So because of that fiasco, so it may have people turned off a little bit, but I guarantee you, if you've played this game, and I played it 3 times. I stood in line 3 times to play the game, and it is fantastic. It's a lot better than Battlefield 1. The guns feel more modern. I mean, because there are some more kind of modernized weapons, and still talking about World War II, but it's just a better game overall. And then plus they're going to have uh, the uh, the battle royale mode in there, and from when that trailer looked like, it looked really fun. So, I think the game once Red Dead is over with and people settle down, it's going to get fixed. Plus, also, uh, EA has got an issue going on with Amazon. So the pre-orders, they didn't get good pre-orders from Amazon because there's some kind of hold up there. So it's just a
All right.
big mess right now. So I
Well,
think the game is going to sell real well though.
I see, and this is one of the reasons why I love doing this show, because we talked about this on Crossfire last night as well, and I had no idea about the Amazon thing. Nobody brought that up. I think you brought up a great point in terms of marketing and advertising, because we really haven't. I haven't really seen too much in the way of advertising when it comes to this game as well. I've gone on record stating that I feel that with EA, because of what happened with Star Wars Battlefront 2, there is a certain stigma, and I think it's going to linger at least until Anthem comes out. I feel like they're feeling kind of like ripples or minor shockwaves now from the big earthquake that was Battlefront 2 and the whole loot crate thing. And I feel like with Anthem being that new IP, there's interest in it, but people are a little bit, because they don't know what to expect in terms of microtransactions and stuff like that. But if that game launches correctly and the gaming community embraces it, I feel like EA is kind of like out of that Star Wars hole, that Battlefront hole that they've been put in. So I feel like this might be that repercussion to what happened with Battlefront 2. Dark, I know you're a Battlefield fan as well. I've actually played the game with you quite a few times. So, dude, what do you think about these pre-orders? You heard K Mega. You heard a couple of things that on my opinion. So, what do you think, man?
I think a lot of people are just on the fence with it. As you can see from the pre-orders, a lot of people aren't pre-ordering it because of the fact that they're upset of the fact that there's a lot of inaccurate things that they didn't want for the game.
Like what, man? Like what are you talking about? Is it like the accuracy of history in terms of
I
like
think
women and
it's
stuff
the
like that?
accuracy of history. I think it's the accuracy of just the way the game kind of looks. I think they're just upset at the fact that
So you're saying that there was no women that fought in World War II?
No, I'm
It's
not
not
saying
true.
that.
Oh, which is
I'm not saying
not.
that.
He's not.
That's not
Mega,
true.
don't try to put words in his mouth, man.
No,
He didn't say
I'm trying
that.
to figure out. I mean, he's over
He's
here
saying-
sidestepping. I
I'm
mean,
not
you say
saying
it so I
that.
can get
I'm saying that
Okay.
that is. I didn't want to throw that out there, but that is one of the reasons as to why a lot of people aren't pre-ordering it
They're
Who
because they
gives a
missing
think
damn
stuff
about
on
those
that.
because
misogynist
they think.
bastards?
Hold
They
on,
need to read history.
hold on one second. It's because they think to themselves that it's inaccurate, but it's not inaccurate. They think to themselves, they see it and they're like, and then they see all these other YouTubers on there saying, "Oh, well, that's inaccurate," and then they don't really know themselves unless they've actually looked it up and read a book and actually studied World War II and studied war in general. Um, and I think a lot
Look
of
at this
people.
awesome gameplay going on right now, too. By the way, throw it out there.
Well, I'm just gonna let you, bask in your
I am.
stuff.
This is mayhem right now, so I get my super like every 10 seconds.
Okay. Moving on. Um, I think there's just this. I think it's the hardcore who is really like thinking to themselves, "Oh, well, this isn't Battlefield. This is not my Battlefield," And I think the game's still gonna sell. I think the game's still gonna sell decently well. I just don't think that the game is gonna be a top seller for EA this year. Um,
No, I just want
I
to say I still feel that like anything EA comes out with until we see the release of Anthem and how they handle that, anything that EA comes out with is gonna have that stigma. It's almost gonna be
but that's the thing.
irrelevant to people.
I think Anthem's gonna be a different beast though. All together, all in general, it's gonna be a different type of game. It's not gonna be like Battlefield, where it's an established franchise and people are looking at these trailers, they're looking at the way it was revealed, and they're like, nope, I'm not interested in it. Even though they really don't know what is really going on in the game because they haven't played it yet. It's kind of like they're just going off of what they've seen, and I think EA isn't really marketing this game very well. And I think it's because a lot of it has to do with Call of Duty being coming out a week before, and then Red Dead Redemption 2 coming out a week after. I feel like this game might actually take the spot of Titanfall 2 in this year. And if you guys don't know, Titanfall 2 failed because of the fact that it was in between two of the biggest juggernauts, which was Call of Duty and Battlefield. And now Battlefield is going to be in the same place as Titanfall 2.
Dude, I am so I said this last night too, and I am so tired. I know in some instances it's true, and possibly this year with Red Dead
Actually, in a lot of
Redemption,
instances.
with Red Dead Redemption 2 coming out, I can see people saying this, but with people getting nervous about launch windows and what games are releasing around them, I feel like, that shouldn't matter. If people like your game, they're gonna buy your game. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I don't
No,
feel
it's
like
absolutely true. They should care about, just getting the game out there instead of, this whole whatever other game that's coming out.
I just feel
around
like there's
that
a lot
time.
of YouTubers out there. There's a lot of people who report on gaming who kind of use that as a crutch. It's like, well, the pre-orders aren't that good, but you see it's sandwiched between these two big games, and it's like, well, Battlefield
But I
has been
think-
building itself up to be a big game anyway.
But that's the thing.
It's
Battlefield will do well. It just won't do well with the hardcore community, and that's where the game will fail.
I disagree. That's where I think that the game will thrive, is for the hardcore. The problem, it's going to be the casual that's going to skip on buying the game first.
I don't know about that. I think that right. They will skip on. I think everybody's skipping on the game, buying the game first. But the casual market,
no. The
casual
hardcore is going
market-
to buy Battlefield. Trust me. They're
Dude,
loyal.
if there's not very many pre-orders for it right now, that tells me that the hardcore do not care about this game.
Didn't you just
So
hear what I
guess
said
what? The
about with
casual
with Amazon,
the
with the
casual
situation with
market's going to be the
Amazon?
ones who are going to buy it.
There's a problem with EA and Amazon right now, and that's one of their
Yeah,
where they
but they
get
could
the
pre-order it
biggest.
somewhere else. They could
Well,
pre-order
I
it
do want
But
to
that's
say, I do want
other
to say, I
places.
want to give a shout out in the chat. Crazy Greek dude a little while back said that the digital pre-orders are actually on the rise now. So they're getting another kind of like a second wind where there are people like pre-ordering digitally right now.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's not the end of it's not the end of it all. The game isn't released yet. We don't know what's going to happen. Once it is released, how many people are going to buy it physical? How many people are going to buy it? After they get possibly a couple other games that are on their list as well.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the whole thing.
that's
That's
why
the
I was
whole
going to
thing. There's so
ask
many other
you.
games that's coming out that's going to be involved. That other people, what I'm saying, there's people that just don't buy games like some of us do. That there are people that's got the budget, and there's people that there's Spider-Man, there's Tomb Raider, there's NBA 2K, of course, Madden's came out. There's
No one cares
Strange
about those
Brigade.
games.
There's plenty other games out there that's going to be coming out there before then. And we know that you're not a gamer. Just relax, Otter. And so the fact of it is the fact is that if Battlefield is going to the casual, going to be kind of put on the back burner until like December or maybe January, and then what I'm saying, while Red Dead is going to get the brunt of everybody's money.
Not mine. Not
and
mine.
COD, I'm telling you this right now. The hardcore for COD is going to be that's what it gets. The casuals are not going to dig COD, man. I promise you. I promise you that. COD's going to be in a bad
I think it's
position.
gonna
They're gonna
cater
fail,
to
of
the
course,
casuals more because there's no story. It's either it's PvP and it's the battle royale. I think that.
Well, you could be right. Maybe the hardcore will be the ones they'll be pissed off with it, because I've heard quite a few people that's played that beta and they are not pleased with it at all.
Nobody's ever pleased with Call of Duty yet. Everybody still buys it, man. Let's be real here.
That's true.
Yo, shout out to Noximus in the chat. One of our newest moderators as well. Salty brought it up, and I was like, man, you're right. There are no moderators here, so I just started picking people. But Noximus, he was like, I think people are waiting to see what EA is offering with Battlefield and are perhaps a little hesitant to pre-order. And Nox, I gotta say that I'm thinking that as well because of the whole Star Wars thing. And I feel like it's gonna be like that, but then
it's free. The game,
But that's the thing; they've already confirmed that they're not going to have those kind of things from Battlefront 2.
But still, come on, man. Like, the community.
No,
as
I
a
know.
whole. Like,
No, I know.
There's still people are a little bit wary, but I want to get Don in on this. Don has been really quiet, man. Don, why didn't you chime in? What do you think?
Well, man, I didn't know if my mic was working again. I finally figured out what was going on.
And I thought you were gonna chime right in, like right after that, but
No. I want everyone to have their time. So everyone's like freaking out about Battlefield now.
You sound really enthused by this.
No, it's just like everything's we got to find the drama. Where's the drama at, right? I mean, the thing is, more and more gamers are buying digitally. You don't have to pre-order it digitally. You can literally choose to buy it the day before. The reason why pre-orders had this huge growth is because there was this fear on launch day you weren't able to get a copy of the game. That fear is gone now. So if you want to get a physical copy, you can go do that. But if you want to just go get a digital copy, you can. You also got to keep in mind that EA Access also plays into this, because people are going to get their trial, and then are also going to get their discount if you decide to go that route too as well, right? Mm-hmm. So there's multiple reasons not just to randomly pre-order a game now, and I think there's with an EA game especially, there's plenty of reasons not to do that. So as far as I'm concerned, I really wouldn't worry about it. I don't think the sky's fallen or anything like that. And they may see a huge influx because maybe Call of Duty may not end up being the first-person shooter people are hoping for this year. It definitely is different. I'm not saying it's going to fail or anything like that, but it's
gonna do far from failing, man.
But it's definitely different.
Lower than usual.
But you can also admit that's not the same, right? and then there's a core audience that Call of Duty players don't want Call of Duty to change, but yet they do somehow.
Actually, it is the same. You play the beta, it is the same. It's
But
like Black Ops 3
but
without wall running and
but you
jumping
get
and
where
all
I'm
that
going
stuff.
with
Same
that.
engine and everything.
Yeah.
But you get where I'm going with that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, I don't think there's any news here until we get really closer to launch, until we see how Red Dead has sucked up money in the as far as available funds in the industry, because there, at any given point in time of year, there's only so many funds to go around, right? So, that's the reason why certain companies out there are trying to do what they can to increase the size of the pie. So, because wouldn't it suck if you start going into Christmas and you can't have multiple game launches in Christmas time? That would be awful. That would suck. You wouldn't Christmas wouldn't be the same anymore because you got Call of Duty again this year and you can't get anything else because that's all released, right?
Mhm.
So I just don't really think there's a news story here yet. It's something to keep an eye on, but I don't think it's really news yet.
Nice, nice. I don't know. With that being said, it's interesting. Shout out again, to the chat, letting us know that the digital pre-orders are on the rise right now. I at the end of the day, if you like first-person shooters, you like the World War II atmosphere, this is definitely a game you should look into getting. It's huge maps. I think like 64 players. Going crazy. Landing airplanes and stuff on your enemies' heads. It could be a lot of fun. So it's something that if it's not on your radar, you should definitely check out. But speaking about radar, we have been talking about the next series of hardware that's coming. Project Scarlet, PlayStation 5, the possible features and stuff that is going to be coming in the next generation. Something I want to talk about, and it's something that I see a lot of people in the community. There's gamers out there saying, no, we don't want this, and I cannot for the life of me understand why. So I am using the panel as a crutch here. Maybe you guys can help me understand this, but forwards compatibility. It's something that Phil Spencer has really come out and said is a key to Xbox. Being able to play your games on whatever system you want, moving forward. Whether you get the new Project Scarlet or you're happy with your Xbox One, he still wants you guys to play the new games that come out. And I am all for this. I think the developers would absolutely love this as well, because instead of resetting your consumer base back at zero, you now have 40, 50, whatever you think is out there in terms of Xbox Ones in the millions. You still have that consumer base buying new games. Let me start with Otter here. I think I might save the Don for last because of him being a developer or whatnot. This is going to be... Don, this is one of the times where being a developer might put you at the end of the line instead of the beginning.
I'm all good with that. Good.
Yo, Otter, first off, are you for like forwards compatibility moving into like the newer generation of gaming? Even though, Xbox, they don't want to call it next generation. They are saying Project Scarlet, more powerful system, everything like that. Are you for forwards compatibility? And once you answer that, I want to know, why do you think there is a group out there saying no to this?
I'm absolutely for forward compatibility.
Yeah, you're so used to saying backwards compatibility.
I know,
It's like
I'm
hard to train your mouth to forward
forward
compatibility.
compatibility. And the reason is as to why I'm happy that they're gonna do that is because I don't want to be spending $500 or $400 every 2 to 3 years for an upgrade. Like we have to realize, like, I think even I've heard some people in the community say that it's because of it's gonna hold games back. It's gonna
That's the biggest argument
we're not
right
gonna
there, man.
and it's like I don't necessarily see that really happening. I think over time they will take out games like for the standard PS4 and the standard Xbox One, and really start making games for X and beyond. Or it'll be like how Forza Horizon 2 is being discontinued. Those consoles would be kind of discontinued at that point, and then people will have to go out and buy the next system, or because that'll be like, because there are still a lot of people out there that still have their standard Xbox or their standard PS4. And how long have we had these consoles for?
Since
About
2013, man.
5 years,
2013.
2013, 5 years, somewhere around.
Getting
Probably going to
towards
be
getting
about
towards 6 years, man. To be really
getting
honest with
towards
you,
like 6 years. So I mean, eventually people are going to be like, oh, you know what, I want to get a new console, and then they'll have the option of either getting the X, or they'll have the option of getting the Scarlet when that comes out, or whatever PlayStation comes up with. And I think, I think people are really looking at this as being, oh, well, now I have to buy, um I'll have to be held back by the PS4, the PS4 S, or the Xbox One, the Xbox One S. I'll have to be no. I think those consoles will be discontinued. I think they'll push it forward to the X and beyond, and then eventually that'll probably get phased out, and then it'll go to the Scarlet, and then by the time that it does start going towards the Scarlet, you can just buy the Scarlet. It'll be like you're saving kind of. It's more about saving money for the consumer than it is about making money for the business.
well, no, see, I see it as both because,
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of both. Yeah,
well,
you're
because
right.
the money in the
You're right.
industry is about the software. It's selling the games,
Right.
The hardware sales, it shows how many people are potential customers for the real kind of like the real money in the industry, which is the software. Now, Dark, when you said about people saying it's it'll hold games back. I want to ask you, what do you think they mean by that? And you don't think it's going to happen, so I got to ask you why don't you think it's going to happen?
I think they're thinking more graphic fidelity, but we're at the point right now where graphic fidelity is at it's kind of starting to peak a little bit.
Mhm.
We're seeing games where, like, Uncharted 4 or Halo 5, or what's a really good one on Xbox, Rise Son of Rome, something that's really graphic, that really takes takes a good chunk out of the hard, of graphic fidelity.
Takes a lot of grunt work, man. Your
Yeah,
hardware,
a lot of,
it's
yeah,
grunting.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I think they're like, well, we're not going to see, these type of, big leaps in graphics, but we're not going to see these big types of leaps in graphics in the next generation of consoles. Like, the only thing I think we're going to really see is mechanics, like, seeing facial, different, like, game, like, uh, characters moving more realistically. We're gonna see more,
We're gonna see advancements on the CPU side as well, though.
advancements. Yeah, we're gonna see more, like, lighting and textures and things like that, looking more and more realistic over really the graphic fidelity of
When you
the
said
game
more
as a whole.
realistic, my mind went right to ray tracing. By the way, I don't
Right,
know why.
exactly, and I think ray tracing is really going to come into play with the next iteration of consoles, and I think that's going to be a big thing.
Hmm.
But us hardcore, yeah, we will probably gravitate towards getting the next iteration of
Newest
console, the
hardware, man.
Scarlet, the
Yeah.
newest hardware, because that's how we are. We want the newest, best thing. But I think a lot of people shouldn't really worry about that. They should worry about being able to play the games over the hardware. Hardware shouldn't really matter. The games should be the things that matter.
Nice, nice, man. I am glad I went to you first. You really put out your opinion there. You got a lot of people in the chat agreeing with you right now, man. You definitely shout them out. Um,
Yeah, Noximus over there, he's agreed with me. A few others, I can't.
there's
I'd have
there's
to look
great
for 'em.
conversation going on in the chat, and while that's going on, I'm going to remind people, please hit that thumbs up button. Share this on your favorite social media. Let's get more people into this conversation. I think it's one of the better discussions you're going to have in a gaming podcast, and I want to see a lot of people interacting. With that being said, I got to ask my brother K Mega. I got to ask you, man, are you for forwards compatibility? And if you are, or if you're not, I want to know, like, why do you think people are against it, in your opinion, man?
Ignorance. And maybe perception. I think because the one argument that you've heard about, that it would diminish the fidelity or whatever of the hardware, or they would hold the console back per se. The thing of it is that they looked at what happened between the 360 and what happened with the Xbox One. You don't really hear about any of that with the PlayStation, because this is more of an Xbox discussion, in my opinion. Because we don't know if PlayStation is going to do backwards compatibility. But
it's a real question on Sony's side, because they're not used to kind of like evolving. You see with like the cross progression and the cross play, and how they're kind of, no, we don't want to be a part of that right now. Like, it's a bigger question on Sony's side, definitely.
Right, yeah, and it is. But I mean, like I said, like I've been saying on GRG and everywhere else, is that it would be a really silly, no, it'd be a stupid move on Sony for not having backwards compatibility and not allowing these services to start coming on their console, like EA Access, because there was something we talked about last night on GRG about an issue that's going on with Steam, and that Steam is now having a issue in regards of these companies are starting to pull their games away from them.
Well, they're starting to get more rivals in the PC space as well, man.
Well, the publishers is beginning to start saying, look, we're tired of spending our 30%, and we're going to start having our own services. And
then you got Discord. Discord is opening a store as well.
Going to do it. Yeah. Namco Bandai, Capcom, they're going to have their own little apps. Ubisoft already has theirs. EA got theirs.
You're saying an open platform is an open platform?
Oh no.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying, so PlayStation would be smart to go ahead and start allowing this, even though, and try to incorporate on top of what they're doing with PlayStation Now, or really go balls to the wall with what they're going to do with PlayStation Now. But in regards to the topic, is that it's the future of where gaming is going. Software is king. People want more users. That's why they changed it from sale numbers to user base, because it's all about how much money they can make off of the software than it is the hardware. This is, what I'm saying, cloud computing. That's why you see Xbox and PlayStation having their own cloud departments, because they know that this is the future in gaming. Digital distribution. This is, what I'm saying, mortar stores is in trouble. What I'm saying, GameStop is going to have to be completely something different. So it's going, everything is moving kind of fast to maybe a lot of gamers out there, because they may have been cool with the status quo of how it was, but it's changing now, Jack, and I'm all for it, because if you have these competition with, like, let's just look at with EA Access and what they do and how they got discounts, then all of these other companies, if they're going to follow suit, they're going to do the same thing. And with with this, it's that it helps the consumer choose of what they want. It's like what Phil Spencer said, what was it, not this year, but last year, of that, look, we're looking to try to get the consumer to buy our platform. We don't care which one it is. We just want you to buy it so you can buy the software. And for, like, people, I can remember, like, when I go to the pawn shop or something and want to buy something or anything, and I see people buying 360s when 360s and PlayStation 3s when we're already in the Xbox One, PlayStation 4 era, that tells me that people they're bargain shoppers, or they just can't afford to get the new stuff. So if they can buy S and still play these new games and still feel like they're a part of the community,
and all that good stuff,
that's a great win for our gamers. That's a positive. I don't see how anybody could be talking about, well, that takes away from what the developers are going to do. No, that's not, because the way that Xbox has laid it down, and I'm pretty sure PlayStation is going to do the same thing, is that it's going to be easy just to go ahead and make that one game, and that hardware is going to sell itself. Not so much that the devs has got to do something extra for this and do extra for that. So I just look at it as just just ignorance on a lot of gamers' part,
Mega,
saying they don't like it.
I gotta throw this out. I gotta throw this out there, and I'm gonna throw it to you, man, because we've been in this from the beginning. The funny thing to me is when it comes down to it, a lot of people are arguing it's gonna stifle kind of like the hardware sales for the new systems, and a lot of YouTubers are out there saying that as well. But these are the same YouTubers that, when it came down to it, was trying to let everybody know that these companies, they get the hardware out there. That's not where they really profit from, but they profit from the software. Like, what do you think's going on there? Like, why? It's either got to be one thing or the other, in my opinion. Now, I know the fact is it's selling the games. The hardware's, I mean, we could go throughout the generations. There was points in time where these companies were taking losses financially to get the hardware out because they wanted to sell the software. Now,
Well, they still are.
they're still taking. I think.
Sony's the only one that's actually taking a profit, but Xbox is still kind of
It's
not
break
really.
even. It's break even. Just depends on
I
the
think
trade
it's a
value.
little bit in the plus side, like maybe $15 like per system or something like
$15.
that.
But
I'll
that's usually
take
the
that.
margin.
Yeah.
That's usually the margin that they're working with, right?
Yeah.
Because like the dollar value goes up and down, and all that sort of stuff. So they, it ends up being like a net wash. Is like in general, like because it will go up and then it'll go back down depending on what the dollar value is in that country.
I got you. Well, Don, let me bring it over to you. I know this is something we have talked about. I did a video this past week, and you shared it out with your own kind of like comments and stuff like that when it comes to forwards compatibility. Now, you are an independent developer. You are working on your game. What do you think about forwards compatibility moving into the future? Is this something that looks good in your opinion, both as a gamer and as a developer? And why do you think a lot of people are out there like saying no to it, man?
I just don't understand it. I mean, tradition's hard to break from, right? I mean, if you look at consoles from one generation to the other, people don't realize kind of like where we're at, where things are going forward, and and they also don't understand that a lot of those hard reset changes were because we weren't able to do certain things with consoles. Now we're able to do a lot with consoles. I mean, there's a lot that we can scale back. There's a lot that we can also add as far as that goes. I mean, we haven't even hit the limit of what this hardware can do right now. I'm not even talking about the X. I'm talking about the base model fat at launch and the PlayStation 4 at launch, right? Like we haven't really even tapped into those all that much, to be honest with you. They're way more powerful than people realize because people are all so focused on native resolution. They don't realize what they actually have
That
under
was
their.
the worst part of this generation, in my opinion. Was
It set back this generation easily 3 years. But knowing that going forward, I can't think of a single thing in gaming that cannot be scaled from what the rumors is of the next more powerful hardware to the base model consoles. I don't even see a reason to get rid of the base model consoles. There's nothing that for them to hold you back. The thing is, like, if I optimize, say, assets, because I'm always building on something higher end than what's actually the most powerful console, right? So I'm developing on a PC and like that. And then I'm optimizing the assets. I'm optimizing assets so they can work properly on, say, a real basic platform like an S, right? Which is the least powerful out of the home consoles out there. I have just now given myself an increase in budget for the higher end consoles because I've optimized something to such a great degree, then I can just basically, I have all this other headroom that I can play with. So, matter of fact, actually, the base model consoles complement the more powerful consoles. And that's where we're at on the development side of things. Now, comparing things to, I don't know, if you want to say things like, different architectures or the way things were.
Well, before you get into that, Don, you said about scaling and stuff like that, and I've even come out and told people, PC gaming, they have been doing this for years because there's so many different GPUs out there, and all that stuff. Like, I think a lot of people, when they really get into it, people who really do kind of like their research at home, they're talking about like CPU advancements, bigger worlds, more
Mhm.
AI, and I know I've gone on record stating that the game doesn't. They're not looking for parity between Scarlet and like the Xbox One, but they are looking to have the game, run on all these devices. So you might not get the best possible iteration of that game on your Xbox One, but you can still play that game on
Exactly.
Xbox One. Is that kind of like what's going on
That
here?
that's correct. Yeah, because there's so much things that you can just remove. Like people go, well, the CPU is so much weaker on the base consoles and versus what we're rumored to have going forward. Well, guess what? Use less draw cores. That simple. So that can be eliminating the amount of foliage and geometry in a game. That's all you really need to do. And if you're optimizing that, then I'm making it sound easier than it actually is,
He's like, that's all you got to do. Come on, guys.
but it's going to take some work, but it's not going to take a ton, and it's something that's already going to exist because of the PC world. I mean, this is one of the reasons why a lot of people were kind of ragging on Microsoft for some of the PC support going into the X, and I said this is essential. That PC support is essential for the X to be successful because then they actually have ports that they can port over to the X, and so it's getting everyone in that mindset as far as all that stuff is concerned. So yeah, I don't see any single disadvantage at all. I can't think of a single one.
Now, with the people that talk about the whole CPU aspect of it, they point to this generation and they're saying like the CPU is the bottleneck for these systems. Now, do you think that if these games are forwards compatible, do you think there's going to be a huge difference between games coming out and running on the newer hardware compared to the Xbox Ones that we have now?
I don't think there's going to be a problem. I mean, really where a problem will lie is the development tools, right?
Uh-huh.
So,
and a lot of that was fixed as well, right?
Well, I mean, it's going to change going into the next iteration, right?
Yeah.
So, and I said in that statement when I shared your video, it really comes right down to is the company, and we don't know because we're not that far into it yet, right? They can basically create the tools allows you to scale between the multiple platforms, the best and then the least amount of effort, and allows you to maximize what you can get out of the hardware on all platforms. That's what's going to win the heart of the developers. What it really comes right down to, and we don't know if Sony is going to have a kick-ass development kit next time around. Yeah. They had a good one at the beginning of this generation, that's for sure. So, that's kind of where we're at. It's just, I think people are used to the way things were, and they just don't. They feel like it threatens their way and their knowledge of gaming, and it really shouldn't.
I think there is some also kind of like console war influence going on here as well.
That's what I was saying, yeah, because this is more slated towards Xbox than it is PlayStation. And also to make another point, PC gamers don't complain about this because they're the ones that if you want to see how that works, how forward capability works, just watch the PC gamer, because every time that there's something new that's coming out, there's PC gamers that cannot afford to get the new CPU or graphics card or whatever per se, but those games still will be played on whatever that PC gamer have. So it works perfectly for them. So why not consoles?
All I have to say is that the voting for the gameplay is rigged because Mega is playing Prince of Persia and he freaking sucks at it.
Yo, you just brought it back.
How do I suck at Prince of Persia when I went through everything?
You died like 5 times. Don't give me
I
that.
didn't die 5 times. I died once. I died once.
You died like once and another time after that.
No, I didn't die anymore after that.
That has nothing to do with force compatibility. I don't know what you guys are talking
Yo,
about.
he brought that like out of nowhere. It's like, yo, by the way,
out of nowhere.
he sucks at Prince of Persia and he won.
Yeah, but I won. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's rigged. Just saying.
Yeah.
I think all in all, I think people kind of, I know there are traditionalists out there. There are even people, I mean, I even said this to Crap Gamer. I was like, dude, the dinosaur mentality, it needs to stop. We're in a space right now with gaming in the industry where it is changing so radically. Now, as long as it's, for the consumer, as long as we're not getting kind of like screwed over by it, then I don't see, why people would be so negative. At this point in time, when it comes to forwards compatibility, just like K Mega said, take a look at the PC space. There's people that don't have those CPUs and GPUs that are just coming out, man, that do all the flashy things, but that's why they have minimum specs. And when you look at forwards compatibility, the minimum specs are going to be the Xbox One in terms of Microsoft's position. Now, we still have to wait and see what Sony is going to do, but I hope that they see what's going on here, and I hope that PlayStation goes forwards compatible as well.
They benefit the most from it. Like, if you really think about it, I mean, if you look at
80 million people ready to buy your new games, yeah, they definitely do, man.
Yeah, I mean, they benefit the most from all this. So, like, before, like, people have turned into a Microsoft or a Sony or PC thing, like, everyone that has their preferred ecosystem, right?
Mm-hmm.
They all benefit from it. No one does. No one. There's no negative to it at all. I mean, I've asked people this. Give me one negative that I actually have. One actual example, not just some random thing you guessing, right? Like,
well, I think this is going to happen, and it's like, but you don't know it yet. And I'm looking at this thing with the cup half full. I see what's going on, kind of like in the industry with the hardware. I see another kind of like open platform doing it with games when it comes to the PC. I'm like, this can work here, man.
I mean, love or hate Red Dead, right? Like, look at the Red Dead trailer we got sold. It was running on the Pro, right?
Uh-huh.
Did the base model PlayStation hold that game? Looking back from the what
actually
you're seeing
they
there,
running it on the base PS4.
There's arguments to run it on Pro versus base. So there's some debates out there.
So.
I heard it was base because they were saying it was base.
Well, here's the thing: when we're looking at these,
still,
when
that proves the point, right? I mean, it's a damn good-looking game, and people thought, oh, we maxed out our consoles several years ago. No, we didn't.
See,
and this is
Go ahead, K Mega.
Sorry, bye.
It's okay.
This is the argument too. Okay, I have the Slim, and I played God of War on it. It looked fantastic. Now, of course, I have a 4K television and things like that, and I would have loved to see what God of War looked like with true HDR. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I was saying, like, okay, when I'm pretty much probably going to upgrade to a Pro. You know what I'm saying? So when I get Spider-Man on the salesman in Black Friday, you know what I'm saying? I will. You know what I'm saying? I most likely will get a Pro at that point. So.
Well, Megan, let me ask you this question.
Yeah,
so, what drove you to thinking you want a Pro outside of that game in particular?
Only because of my television. It had nothing to do with.
Did it have to do with another platform that you really enjoy?
No.
Because you said on the X, because since you've experienced the X, it's hard for you going back to the base model PlayStation, right?
Right.
You said you wanted to go into the like, not to put words in your mouth, but you've said that before, right? So,
right.
So here's another example. What's going to drive the sales of the new hardware? The competition.
Right. No, the X, that's the one thing about, like, when I've played on my PlayStation. That's why, like, I'll play my PlayStation and I enjoy the games that I have for the most part. But the thing of it is that, like, when I play on my X, it's like, wow, because there's some games that I've double dipped on, like games like, like fighting, like Tekken, situations like that. But now it's Tekken is a different animal. Well, Tekken is a different animal. But listen, like Battlefield, right? I got Battlefield 1 on the PlayStation, and I got Battlefield 1 on my Xbox, and on the X, it's not even a comparison. It's just not. It doesn't look anywhere near as good as it does on the X. So that's why I'm saying, like, I have to upgrade to the Pro, because if I don't, then I'm selling myself short, because I'll play the game for so long on the PlayStation. I'm like, this shit just not look like what it does on the X. It just doesn't feel right to me. So I'm gonna just not play it. So that's my reasoning for it.
But, well, there are.
Yeah, see, I disagree with that, because I don't have that problem. But I mean, I can see where you're kind of coming from, where you would rather see, a better resolution for your games, because of the fact that you've been on the X for so
So
long
the
that it's
resolution
like
matches his TV now. I think
Well,
that's what.
Right.
that's a perfect example how you guys are two different gamers, right? This is what I'm
Right.
saying. Like, we have examples of this just on the show, right? K Mega, what's going to drive him to buy the next console? Well, because he's played the competition, and there's an advantage to going to a more powerful hardware. For him, it's worth the dollar value. He looked at it and he's like, you know what, it's worth it. For Dark, he's like, nah, I'm not. That's not needed for me. Like, I just don't care.
And
right.
and
It's more
and
about the games for me.
And on my
Exactly.
situation, I bought the X even though I'm on standard HD because they do the super sampling, which I get a benefit there. And then when I do get my 4K television, I'm going to see another advancement on top of that as well.
And
Will
games
somebody
run
just
better
buy
as
this
well on
thing
the X too.
4K TV by now? Come on.
Yeah. Well, we're looking at you, Dark, but you haven't sent it over yet. So, I mean, but yo, huge shout out to a huge supporter of this show, Z Black Rider. He said Microsoft's biggest problem is Scorpio is so good they'll have a hard time getting 100% more power for $500. And yo, Z, I hear what you're saying, but just think about this. They're using Jaguar cores in the Xbox One X. They're going to jump that up, all right? I think what they did with the X is they created kind of like the infrastructure that they can drop in a more powerful CPU, a more powerful GPU, and the result of that is going to be the performance is going to go so much higher. I think that's what they really did with kind of like looking and clearing the bottlenecks from Xbox One when creating the Xbox One X. And I think they created a really good kind of like it's kind of like the platter that holds your food. Like they created the silver platter, that fancy one with the dome top on it, and any food that goes in there just looks that much better. Some people might even say it tastes that much better. But I think that's what they did here. They just created a really good infrastructure to be able to drop in a more powerful CPU, a more powerful GPU, and have the performance gains just be that much more.
Well, it's more than just dropping a more powerful CPU or GPU, right? Like, they took the base model S and the current engines and what they're doing, and they tried to figure out where all the bottlenecks existed and occurred, and they designed around that.
Yeah, like across
right?
the board, like anything.
So that's going to happen again with the X, what people don't realize, right? They're not going to throw any of the advancements away. They may have to one or two, but not really all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to continue to see where the bottlenecks exist in the X. So it's not just about, hey, put X number of powerful chip in there. I mean, I would like to see everything double across the board: RAM, memory bandwidth, what the CPU can do, and GPU.
Yeah.
That might not be reasonable, right? Might not even be feasible, but if they start addressing some of these other things, they may get that power and squeeze it in different ways. So, like, they've shown what they can do with the X, right? So how can you not be excited what they're
Like
going to do?
people
if you're
can't
not gonna
believe
buy
that
the
the X I mean, they're heavily modified, but at the core, they're using Jaguar cores on the X, and this thing is running like incredibly. Now, Don, is that true, man?
No, the CPU on there is better than people realize. I mean, I've used this analogy before. It's like comparing a Beetle to a Porsche, right? I mean, the engine's in the same place. Technically, it's the same basic flawed design, right? But there's some refinement in the Porsche over the years that obviously doesn't handle like a Volkswagen Beetle anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at what they've done with the Jaguar, they've stuck with that same idea, but they continue to do refinements to get the most out of that CPU because that's what was available at the time, right? That's what made sense for what they were trying to do. So, going forward, is it going to make sense to continue to work with that? No, it probably isn't.
I didn't expect them to pull the performance from those cores that they're doing right now with this, and
Right.
I don't think you did either, Don. Like
No.
in the beginning,
Well,
they
no,
did
no.
something
When
incredible
we
here.
when we first had the discussion, right, of when the rumors of the X came out, I said two things are going to happen, right? Either they're going to rev the nuts off the existing technologies that exist today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Higher clocks and all that sort of stuff, and get the yields up, or they're going to go with the newest technology that's hasn't hit us yet, right?
Yeah.
And I placed the bet on the newest technology that wasn't hit yet because basically you can scale
So
that
did I,
technology.
man. So did I.
Scale that technology back, and I figured that's how they were going to be able to get the cost down and all that sort of stuff. No, they went the other way, right? But they've taken additional steps when they went that other way. So I mean, I knew how they were going to be able to get there. The question is, I placed the bet on the wrong bet on how they were going to do it,
And it
and
happens, man. Like,
and I'm fine with being wrong because the performance is out there, right?
that's why when it comes to predictions, what you gotta look at, like, it's something that I look at with watching YouTube, watching gaming YouTubers, is the common sense behind the prediction. Because if people are just making wild ass claims with no common sense to them, I have a tendency to pull away from them. But I feel like what happened here with this show, people on the panel when it was coming to the X, I think everybody, they backed predictions with common sense. And when you do that, majority of the time you're gonna get it right. But there are going to be times you're not going to be batting 1,000 like throughout your lifetime on YouTube.
At a certain point, you got to place a bet, right?
Exactly.
And the chances are, when you place a bet, something's going to be wrong, and then you just own up to it and you move on, right? Like I'm happy to acknowledge what I said before, but I'm also happy to acknowledge the fact that I placed the bet on the wrong horse, right?
Yeah.
How they were going to get there. So that's totally fine. I mean, going forward, it's going to be interesting to see what technology they're going to throw in these boxes. I feel like we're way too far out to even predict that right now. That's just kinda,
we haven't even said anything yet. I mean, we're about 2 years away. 2020 is where I'm stating that that's when we're going to see the PS5 and the Scarlet. So we have 2 years. We're gonna be going back to these subjects like within these 2 years.
And I think what Xbox is going to do, it's a prediction. I think what their idea is that they're going to have a 3-tier system of hardware. They're going to have the Elite, they're going to have a mid-tier, and then they're going to have a more affordable brand.
The Cloud Stream.
Which is going to, actually 4 now. Because
yep, that's what I was about to say. There's going to be 4.
4 because you got the cloud stream. So because I don't think that the S, what I'm saying, I kind of was agreeing with Otter with about like they're going to kind of discontinue the S.
Dude, you almost threw up there.
But
agreeing with me.
But listen, I'm going to burn a hell for it. But the thing of it is that really listening to Don and everybody is that they may not, because that is something that we have learned over time with all these consoles over history, that they can still push out more juice, and we haven't seen the best of these consoles. And though the S is a, I don't know if it's a better performing it's better performer than the Fat. But I think it's even kill with the Fat, and I don't think we've seen the best of the Fat.
Yeah, it only has a slight advantage from the Fat.
Well, that's the thing. Where would you see the X in that and all that?
The X is to me, that's where I think that where Microsoft made the smartest move, because where people keep on, regardless of how the sale numbers of the PlayStation 5 going against the Scarlet will be, people, they will, the PlayStation fan will discontinue the X, and the X will be the most affordable, most powerful system that's ever been, and that thing is going to sell like crazy. Like, I think that there's going to be people that's still waiting because they still have an Xbox One Fat and S, to where the price gets affordable, so the X will be their primary console, and then they'll just let whatever happened with the Scarlet or whatever until that price goes down. But the X is going to be is the absolute
So the X will be the standard.
It's going to be probably the most best-selling thing for Xbox, because it's powerful enough, and the fact that it'll be cheap enough at the time.
Mega, I think you're
word standard though. That doesn't mean anything.
Hold on, Mega, I think you're scaring Skint Eastwood. He's like, God, I hope not, guys. Just release a console. Maybe I'm old school. And I gotta say, with Skint, I only think when it comes down to it, you're looking at Project Scarlet. I'm only thinking traditional console and streaming. All right, so I think there's only 2 coming out now. You got Mega here with 4, but Xbox One X. I do agree with Mega at this point in time. I think in the long run, that's going to be kind of like the best decision that they made, because it's that mid-tier system that'll give you quality, for a good price as well.
Yeah, like, so for everybody that was the early adopters that got it for $500, everybody thinks that we're suckers because of it. But I guarantee you, by the time that, like, if people want to trade in their X, it's still going to hold a lot more value than the PlayStation Pro will, by far.
Nice.
Because I think that system is going to continue to sell well, the more affordable that it'll be. That's why I say that was really smart by Xbox. And for the hardcore like us that will like, hey man, we got to get the newest, better, best thing out there. That we're going to get the Scarlet and whatever else that comes after that. But the S actually too will still sell because there's going to be people that's like Otter that said, look, I don't give a damn about these graphics. I see that this system is only $150 or $200. I'm going for this, and I can still play the same games that they play. And for the people that has fiber wire or high fiber, whatever the hell that shit is, like Delilah HD, or I should say high fiber. You know what I'm saying? That fiber wire, high fiber, whatever.
High fiber wire, right there.
Wire, yeah, whatever. Then they'll be the ones that'll be really excited about the stream box.
Guys, we need pictures on Twitter right now. Yo, you got to tag K Mega.
Yes.
And it's got to be high fiber wire. I want to see what you guys think.
I think the Crown Black is getting to me a little bit. Don't worry about it. Yeah, but that's okay.
Yo, man,
Let me be country.
You are keeping it together. You are making sense, except for that one thing right there. But
sorry. I'm not trying to turn 100 on the show. No, I'm not going to do that.
Dude, if we hear you snoring, I'm cutting your mic, man. That's all I'm saying right now. But yo, check this out. Another thing that people are talking about with Forward's compatibility, and I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna move on. People are saying that the Xbox One, the base model, is holding back the X and stuff like that. I gotta say, when it comes to these models, the mid-gen refreshes, they wanted to keep a parity going within this generation. But when you're moving on to this new hardware, when it comes to Scarlet and PS5, I don't think they are, if Sony does go forward compatible as well, I don't think they're aiming for parity between the Xbox One and the Project Scarlet. I think
that restriction doesn't really exist now on the Xbox side of things. It does on the Sony side of things, but it's a gray area from what I
think as long as it runs is what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. They're being a little bit more flexible on that as far as that's concerned, but it's not even a restriction on the Xbox side of things. It's really for the developer to figure out what is a balanced system for their games. Mm-hmm. Here's the harsh reality. This is what people don't want to admit. The base model consoles, all of them technically, if I design a game from the ground up, is fully capable of 60 frames per second. If you make that a priority and you design your game around that, you can make your game 60 frames per second on all these different pieces of hardware that are out there. The thing is, you have to make that a priority. And when I say the word priority, that means you have to make sacrifices in other places, yes. Right? So, that's just kind of how development works. So when they're thinking, hey, I'm going to make this game 30 or I'm going to make this game 60, these are choices that are made very, very early on. Now, if you present the developer with more powerful hardware, then they should have the decision what they want to do with that. That's kind of always been my take on it. So if they want to make 160 and 130, I'm okay with that. There's ways to balance that. I know there's ways to balance.
Don, how do they do it with, like, to take Doom, that fire gameplay right there that you guys see on the screen?
I'm watching your Horizon right
now.
I
know it is. I know it was before the Horizon.
And I'm just saying. 30. This is 30.
He's not even a true Horizon fan.
But hey, you shut your mouth.
Look, he's got the bar. He's got the damn the driving bar. Turn that shit off and drive like a.
I only play Forza Horizon casually. Okay. But I gotta ask, Don, now, how were they able to take Doom, which was at, I think, 30 frames per second and 1080p, and upscale that to 4K 60? How were they able to do that? Was it just like a...
So you're saying the base model game was 30?
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't really know. I
don't know. I haven't played that game a lot, but I thought, if my memory was right, I thought it was 60, but my memory...
It was already 60?
Yeah.
I think it was 60, and it was a resolution bump that happened.
Well, let's just say, if they did that with a game, like, where it was at 30, would they be able to up it to 60 frames per second, or no? Would not be a possible?
You have to do some additional work, to be honest with you. Sometimes if you just slap extra frames on there, it fucks things up. I'm just call it what it is.
Okay.
you have to go in there, maybe retool some animations or something like that, or if you built the animations in mind, or certain games the animations won't be affected by that. So like the problem is it's not a black and white thing, right? People always turn
Uh-huh.
the frame rate discussion into a black and white polarizing type discussion, and it's like it's almost like trying to reason with those people. It's like talking to people taking their second amendment right away. Like it's not that's not what frame rate is, right? Like frame rate has influence on gameplay, but doesn't always dictate everything on gameplay. Like you can take Call of Duty for example, and Halo, they're both 60 frames per second game, but Halo actually has a much lower latency time than Call of Duty, the
Oh,
last Halo
okay.
5. So it has influence, but doesn't necessarily dictate. There's other things that are contribute to that. I mean, you can have some games like you say you do a 60 frame and 30 frames per second multiplayer game, but you can have the player input tied to every other frame. There's things to do. You can do that sort of stuff within engines as well, or you can do like do them both 30 frames per second, but do frame rate interpolation on one versus the other. And most people wouldn't even know there's really, they would think there's a perceivable difference, but may not be. So the thing is, it's like big publishing companies do a lot of testing on this stuff before they spend millions and millions of dollars on games. And I thought it was a very black and white thing, but as more and more I get into the development weeds of everything, it's not very black and white. And anyone that kind of takes that stance is just coming from a perspective where they don't really know all the ins and outs of it.
I just want to throw in a curveball before we get into kind of like the main topic. When it comes to these games and running them on older hardware, I think that Microsoft and Xbox are going to do something with cloud computing in terms of the newer games that are coming out. They'll use cloud computing to put in kind of like the skybox and things that would take up some power on the hardware side, and kind of ease that strain and have the system be able to run the game in even better quality than what people thought was possible on the base Xbox One and those systems as well.
That has to be an API driven thing, though. That's the thing. So like, if I'm telling basically an Xbox console that, hey, I want you to do this sort of thing, and the whole idea of the API sorts it all out for you. Does that make sense? You're not doing that high level programming. If you have the cloud stuff built into the API like that as an option, that really allows developers to really take advantage of the cloud compute type stuff. If you just leave it to developers, hey, you got these servers, figure it out.
Program it in, man. Do it.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
No.
It has to be from an API level.
Do you think DirectX 12 has something like that built into it, or they can add to it, or?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they can always add an extension. I mean, that's what we keep hearing. That's why I keep hearing behind the scenes is what's going to end up happening as far as that goes. I mean, if you look at ray tracing, it's part of DX12, and that's an extension, right? Like, so they added to it when we got DX12 on our consoles. They didn't have those extensions built into it. So, I mean, there's things they can definitely add to it for sure.
All right, nice. And Don, I do have to say we have to schedule a time. I really want to go in with ray tracing with you. I think we should do that. Kind of like one-on-one. Separate show sometime during the week.
I still feel bad about that, man. Like I totally spaced it out. I was playing game. So just so everyone knows that's listening, me and Bot were planning on this thing to do regarding ray tracing, and I literally got caught up in a game, and my Xbox says the wrong time zone versus my cell phone. So therefore, I was about an hour late by the time I contacted Bot. So
yeah, it's all good. But we will definitely have that show for you guys on this channel.
By the way, I'm just letting you know because I was really looking forward to it.
Dude, I did really good PR when I went live though.
I know you did.
I did.
I was like, oh shit, dude, hell yeah, I can't wait.
My
and then
Utah brother failed me, but it's okay because I did a little.
It's because he's Mormon.
Little explanation, a little entertainment, and then I was like, we will postpone this show until another time. But let's get to the main event here, and I gotta give a shout out to the Don for this because we were on Xbox Live yesterday, and he's like, for a talking point, maybe we should get into this, and I don't want to I don't want it to be a console war thing, but I do want to look at it as a gamer, and this is kind of like. what deems the company as like the king of that generation, and what's going to happen when Scarlet and PS5 come out? And when you look at it, this generation, there is a huge group of gamers out there who talk about hardware sales, and you got PlayStation 4 at over 80 million right now, and they're saying, well, that's what it is. PlayStation is the king this generation. And I'm thinking to myself, when it comes to that, I was like, well, then in that case, the previous generation, which had the 360, the PS3, and the Wii was the king of that generation. And anytime I brought that up, people are like, oh no, that's because grandmothers were buying it and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, who cares who buys it? If you're talking about hardware sales, then last generation belonged to the Wii. If you're going to say PS4 is on top this generation because of hardware sales, then you have to say, in my opinion, you have to say the Wii won last generation. So we're going to look into next generation and think about where those goalposts are going to be. And Don, guess what, man? Since you brought up the topic, I am going to you first, dude. So we get the PS5, we get Project Scarlet. There's people out there who look at this like professional sports. There's got to be a king. They're looking at it like wrestling. Who's gonna body slam who? So what do you think is gonna be kind of like the goalposts moving into next generation, man?
I think the lines. The problem is the lines are going to be so blurred from what we used to judge this stuff on, right? So, PlayStation's doing this now too. So, take it for the grain of salt. You're seeing bigger games.
I like how you have to put the stipulation. PlayStation's doing it too, by the way.
Destiny's doing it. Like a lot of games do this. I think it's going to be engagement.
Active users?
Yeah, active users. Because what's going to happen is if you're an active user, you're on the platform, you're going to spend more money. There's a direct correlation there where these are businesses, and the question is, how do we judge a business and what we spend and what dollars are we going to recuperate from that? And I think it's going to be active users. It comes right down to it. Like, that has to do with next generation, right? Like we're starting to get into it this generation, right? But going into next generation, that matters because, like, to me as a developer, it doesn't matter if someone buys an Xbox or a PlayStation. If it just sits on their shelf and they don't turn it on, how are they a customer of mine? I fail to see where they can be, right? Mm-hmm. There's a potential, but there's always potential. There's potential of consoles sitting on a shelf, and there's also potentials of a console sitting on someone's closet or in their entertainment center they never turned on, right? So it's really about engaging those customers that do turn on the box, that do play, that do spend hours actually gaming. I really think it comes right down to active users in regards to that, because now we're also going to see maybe some of the stuff may not be your traditional console. Some will, some won't, right? So how do you judge those numbers? I think some of the active user stuff that counts a little weird, but in general, I think that's the main metric that you're going to have to count on to see if you're going to double down and invest more, and if you're going to get a return on your investment.
All right, I got you. I am going to go on record now, and I am going to state that from what I'm seeing in terms of rumor mills, behind closed doors, talking to other YouTubers, people who have connections and all that good stuff, I'm thinking that next generation is going to be that generation, man. I have a feeling that next gen, when it comes to Scarlet, when it comes to PS5, and all the options that we are going to have as gamers on how to purchase our games, where we can play our games, all that good stuff, I have a feeling it's going to be a golden generation when it comes to console gaming. I am really, really excited for 2020. Like I said, I think that's when these devices are coming out, and I cannot wait. I really feel like that this new set of hardware that's coming, people are going to look back at it like, when you go into the future, and they'll be like, man, that's when everything just was so good. That's when everything started, and I am excited. But Mega, we are talking about next, quote unquote, next generation. We're talking about Scarlet, PS5. People have goalposts, they move them all the time. But one steady thing about this generation, people are stating over 80 million PS4s. Sony won this generation. So what do you think the goalposts are going to be moving into this next set of hardware?
It's whatever that.
Whatever Sony does good, man.
Yeah, it's whatever the fanboy decides that is the problem for whatever preferred console that they like. If it's going to be resolution again, which it shouldn't be, but you never know. If it's frame rate, because we're starting to hear more about frame rates now, sales, it really doesn't matter. There's going to be something to talk about. If advertising, IPs, developers, or developing team studios, it's going to be something to where they can use that for the argument for they can feel satisfied about their purchase.
So there's not going to be no foundations, what you're saying?
None. It's
Gotcha.
Social media is damaged. Anything.
It's going to be about blades of grass, people.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, it's going to be about sales is always going to be probably a factor, but then like NPDs is still going to be there. That's not going to ever go away. It's just going to be for whatever that console that they don't like and that they love. Whatever it has that advantage in, they're going to go out and single that point out.
Do you think you even go with the sales thing, because a lot of that stuff's going to be digital, not all of that's going to be tracked, right?
I know. But NPDs will be something that they can use. That's what I'm saying. NPDs is not going to go away. Digital Foundry, I know that you don't like that, Don, but they're still going to be relevant because of the fact that they got more stuff that they can
point
talk
right
about.
there. Digital Foundry is still around, people.
Yep,
So.
and it's not going to go anywhere. The one thing that I do think that will start to fade away is the gaming media as we know it. Because of the fact of just a lot of people are losing a lot of trust. Even the people that look to them to feel that they were trustworthy. Once they start seeing stuff that's going on IGN, other places, all their familiar faces that they've seen, that they're starting to leave, go somewhere else. It's almost at the end. I think by the end of this next generation, I think that they'll be pretty much almost obsolete. So that's not going to be so much of a factor. YouTube is definitely going to be a factor, or
that's going to be interesting in the future.
It's going to be really future. So people that's semi big or big now, they're probably going to be the people that everybody's going to go to look for gaming content.
Everybody out there in the chat, you gotta help out this panel, make us big, so this way we have an influence.
Same with GRG. Go ahead, yes, please.
Do every podcast except for GRG.
Oh no!
Yeah, so the fact of it is that
I swear on the other show he's on, I think he brings the salt.
Oh no!
We joke around, but I have bad love for it.
I know it's all, but that's why I just but he kicks ass on salt. He's more quiet.
Don't worry, Mega. He's not going to be here next week. He showed up this week, so he's going to take a vacation. He's not going to be here next week.
He does all the talking now, so he just lets it all just.
Yeah, every time he loses that gameplay, he's like, "Screw this podcast."
Yeah, he's done. So yeah,
every time I lose gameplay, an angel loses his wings.
Aww.
Right. So it's more the thing to me is that it's not that aspect is not going to go away. Like I'm in a DM and it's tragic, right? Like there's all day long. It's just console war talk all day long. I'm like, how do these guys have time to play any games when all day?
Why are you still? Why are you still in that DM though? I'm just wondering.
It's a lot of us in there. And then there's stuff that comes in that might be interesting that maybe I could use for a topic or something or whatever for my video or something of that nature. But for the most part, all day long, it don't stop. Right now, I could go in and I guarantee you, I've missed maybe 2, 3, 4 hours of just the same bullshit over and over again.
And make a pro tip: you didn't miss
fake tears. And all these fake little emoji tears.
Black Raiden said
it's supposed to be funny.
Black Raiden said
the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
Black Raiden said the stipulation is going to be horseball hairs.
Yes.
So,
is that what Digital Foundry is going to count?
Yeah.
A huge job.
Maybe.
Yes. I see our buddy Richard doing that, by the way. Really close to the screen. Though. Like 1, 2, 3.
But it's just not. It's too popular now. It's kind of like sports. Everybody wants to jump on their team, support their team. I get that. There's always going to be extremists, but It's the rage, and it does for all these companies that people can see that these people have this undying support for whatever console that they prefer, right? So it's the thing to me that's why it will never that the console war bullshit on that side will never die, and they'll find a reason to this. But what thing that you did say is that I think everybody that is anticipating that things are kind of going to be the same. I think you need to put your seatbelt on and get ready, because I think everything is going to start going way out there to where maybe I might be fucking around and be like, what? I don't know about this. Like,
dude, if they can get
just the
that
way
ray
the
tracing
gaming is,
involved, if they can get that cloud
it's
kind of like computing in there, man, this is gonna be
yes,
wild, dude.
yes, it's going to be crazy, and I'm really excited because I mean, look, I've been gaming for so many years, and that's why, like, for me, I can't go back to 8-bit gaming indie games. I mean, there's a few that I can play,
I
but
can still play A Link to the Past, by the way. I
yeah,
can
I
still
can play
that.
well, no.
Dude.
I'm talking about old school games like those from old the cards. I can play those games. I have no problem with that. I'm talking about like these new indies that goes back to the 8-bit. No,
Yeah.
I've done that. I've been there. I've done that for a generation and a half, even almost 2 generations. No, there's no way. So the thing for me is like, look, when they rep up this technology, that's why I'm all for it, because look, as a gamer, when you see all this stuff excel, it's like you grew up with it. It's just like your favorite television show or things, or like your favorite, like your pet or something. Like you grow together, you see yourself grow and all of this and evolve. You want to see those things happen. I just want to understand why some people just want gaming to stay in the same spot, because that's when gaming will die, in my opinion.
It becomes stagnant and
Right.
sterile, and that one thing I do want to say, like I've been thinking about this ever since last night, and Xbox, Phil Spencer, Microsoft, they're giving their developers freedom. So the one thing that I can see happening is if a development team decides that they're not going to do 60 frames per second, that it caters to their game more to do 30, and then all of a sudden people are like, well, see, that's where, oh, it's not powerful enough and stuff like that. I think you can find maybe a goalpost there, and I feel it would be very much unwarranted, because if if you want like the best experiences, you want to give the developer their creative freedom to make the game that they really want to make, and I feel like there could be a possibility there, but
Well, the freedom will prevent that, right? Like, because let's say like they have let's just hypothetically say the next Xbox and the next PlayStation 5 are literally identical, but just different logos, right?
mhm.
Realistically, if they're going to be doing that frame rate on the PS5 and they're identical hardware, then they're going to bring it to the next most powerful X, like as far as that goes, because they're not going to stifle their own individual sales on a different platform if the platform's capable of it. Like, developers don't do that. Like,
Okay.
they just simply don't do that. Now, if they feel it's going to be more balanced, well, guess what? They're going to hold that back on the PS5, and they're going to hold that back on the X, but they're going to give you something in return, right? They're going to give you something for that power that's under that box in regards to that. So they're not just going to let it go to waste.
All right, that makes sense. I mean, if they're gonna do something like that, then they're gonna add somewhere else to the game to really utilize the systems that the game is running on. It's just it's a really interesting topic to me. It's something I really haven't thought about, and I mean, 2 years might sound like a long time to a lot of people, but I can guarantee you're gonna blink an eye, and all of a sudden there's gonna be all these rumors about the new hardware, and that's what's gonna drive 2019. And 2019 is not that far away, people. And like, this is the time to really, in my opinion, I'm gonna start thinking about what is gonna happen. I thought it's a really good topic, and we really need to hear what the Angry Otter has to say about this, dude. The next set of hardware coming out, Scarlet, PS5. There are goalposts every generation. This generation, it was about hardware sales. I mean, they moved it a little more towards games when there was a drought on Xbox's side when it comes to first party. But when there was a drought on Sony's side when it came to first party, it was all about multiplats and indies. But at the end of the day, the one thing that really kind of stayed throughout this generation was sales. So, Otter, what do you think is going to be this kind of like next series of hardware? What's going to be the goalpost in your opinion, man?
Well, I sure hope it's not freaking hardware sales.
Resolution.
I sure hope it's not resolution either. And that's the thing is, if you guys know me and you guys know me from Twitter, I don't really get into this whole hardware debacle about which one's better, which one do I'll tell you right now, I prefer Xbox, but I like both consoles. It doesn't matter to me. So to get into the whole fact of like which one's doing better or which one is selling more is stupid to me. It just sounds absolutely ridiculous to
So
even
you're
talk
saying you're
about
not
that kind of
justifying your purchase?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know what you mean by that, but okay.
I mean that's where a lot of these conversations come from, right? It's like people
Right,
have to
yeah.
justify their purchase.
Right, and I don't need to do that. Like I don't need to justify that I have an Xbox. I don't need to justify that I have a PlayStation 4. Like I just don't feel like I need to get on Twitter and talk about oh well, my console that I prefer is the highest one out of there, like I don't care about that. What I care about is of course games, and that's all I ever care about. And I
Yo,
hope next
Dark,
generation
just
will
real
be
quick.
about just the games.
All right.
Let's keep it gaming, not all this hardware stuff.
Dark, I just want to give a quick shout out, man. I am with you on the games part, and I really want you to go in on your opinion. But I got to give a shout out to Delilah HD because she was like, I hope that it's AI and physics that are some of the things that people really take into account.
Which has to do with games.
Exactly, and that's why I wanted. As soon as I heard games, I'm like, man, I got to get this in here. So Delilah and Dark Optimus are on the same page here, and
Exactly.
Delilah, that was an
God,
awesome.
damn, Delilah, you just dropped your IQ about 100.
Don't listen to him, Delilah. That was a great answer.
Dang, Mega. I deserve that. I deserve that. I've been going hard on you all day.
You have. I wait for it.
But I have to agree with her on that. Where and we should really focus on the AI and the physics and the way that games are being created and looking at what's going to make it look more realistic. Like the movements and things like that. I think and we shouldn't go too far into it where we're fighting over that kind of stuff. We should really just be focusing on like hey, well, what are you playing this weekend, or hey, did you guys hear about this game that's coming out, and or like somebody put in the chat earlier, did you guys hear, I think it was Graphic God, shout out to him, he said that Injustice 2 might be coming to Game Pass. That would be a fantastic thing to come to Game Pass. So he's really to prove my point is that he was talking about a game coming to a service that we already have. So let's talk about the games, instead of talking about, oh well, my hardware sold this much. Okay, like it like it should be about the games. It should be about what we care. We don't care really about the hardware. And I think that's where we've kind of lost in translation, is that a lot of people care too much about the hardware, and then they're not really caring about what the games are, because they're just playing, either Call of Duty, or they're playing, those yearly.
This generation, I have a feeling this generation, the generation we're in, I feel it's going to go down as kind of like the Dark Ages in terms of like worldwide. Because of the toxic nature, the fights that were going on. Even though and K Mega can say this at E3, K Mega came back and he was like, it was so refreshing. Nobody was talking like console war bullshit or anything like that, and it was about the games. And I feel like the community, like you said, needs to go back to that.
Exactly. It was a beautiful thing. Like there was a guy that was standing in the Sea of Thieves line to get a Sea of Thieves tattoo, which I was standing there to get my Sea of Thieves tattoo. And he was
get
talking.
a Thieves tramp stamp.
No, not a tramp
Yeah.
stamp. I got me some guns that was put on my forearm like Popeye. Yeah. Anyway. So
That's not a
and,
Popeye laugh, by the
and
way. That is
I know.
not.
Yeah, that was
You know what?
like
I can't even do the Popeye laugh. Anyway,
That's
so the
not even
fact,
Pluto. I mean,
yeah,
what the hell was
I
that?
know. I was like,
that's
yeah.
not even cartoon at all, dude.
That,
I know. I'm trying to do the laugh. Whatever. Stop. Anyway, so the point we're trying to make it. Then he's standing in line, and we're talking just about just gaming, and he's a huge fan of Kojima, and he's really excited about Death Stranding. Now, on the internet, that would be sacrilegious, and somebody might be burned at the stake with the scarlet letter of a
how
P on
dare
it.
you?
How
But
dare
that,
you be
but
a Sea of Thieves that the Kraken is
right.
lacking line and you talk about the greatness of Kojima? But that's just how it was out there. Like everybody was just in awe about the Xbox event and about whatever games that they were into, that they were excited. And it made it so awesome to be like, you know what? And it gave me for a glimpse second, for just a moment, to sit there and to say, you know what, I might want to check out this Kojima game until I seen Kojima be walking with security and pushing people out of the
He's
way.
like, fuck
And
you,
he would say
K-Mega.
what's up to
But
people. And after that, I said, fuck
that's the
that.
thing, Mega. Like when you're talking about this one guy, you see this guy, and he's probably more along the lines of a PlayStation guy. He plays more on PlayStation, but at the same time, like he went in line and got that tattoo. That's
Mhm.
the thing with Twitter. Like people like to hide on the internet, and so when it comes to this kind of
We're just
thing,
talking
they
closet
they
fans
tend.
right now.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, that's the thing. They're
there's a lot
closet
of them.
fans. They actually do like Xbox, but they wanna trash it because of the fact that they can do it online.
I have an
Wait. So,
Xbox, but
so
I
that's why they're
appear,
so
I
angry.
appear offline just so
Well,
that way
I
people
don't know
won't
if
know.
I don't know if they're angry. I don't know if it's anything like that. I think it's more along the lines of this is kind of like a minority of people that is being taken to the majority of people, and I think the majority of people don't care about hardware.
Well,
I don't think the majority of people care about what's going on Twitter. I think the majority of people care about what's coming out this year or the next year or the year after that
I think that
with
minority.
gaming.
I think that minority, because they have spoken so loud this generation, has caught the ear of
Yeah.
a bigger game base out there, to the point where you still have to tell people like Xbox One that no, you do buy your games. It's not an always online system. They don't check up
Right.
on you. You still have to do
No,
that
you're
to
right.
this day because of
You're
that.
right because of the internet, because of social media, because of the fact that people see one thing and they think it's true, and it's not actually true. It's actually false, and that's the problem with this generation of gaming, is that we read too much into what other people think of the console, or we read too much of what people are saying about it instead of actually trying it for ourselves.
I mean, eventually an echo chamber gets loud enough that other people hear it, right?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that's what happens, and that's what this sort of stuff is. And that's the thing is, like, I always want people to have valid arguments. Like, so I don't mind people having an opinion, but have a valid opinion based on two facts. Just simple two facts. That's all I ask you to do, right? And if you can do that, then we can have a conversation, even though we don't disagree or we don't agree with one another. The problem is this voice, these echo chambers that we have. I feel like in general, if you can't get those basics and based on actual facts, and you can't find that middle ground, I think eventually those echo chambers lose clout, right? Like clout in the general public. They're like, oh, I don't know what they're
And
talking
they have.
about. Yeah,
And
they
they
have, and they also lose clout with these platform providers, right? Like Sony and Xbox. So you got to be careful what you say. Like everything has consequences as far as that goes, good or bad, and just based on something that's real. Like that's, I think that's not too much to ask from any gamer, right?
Yeah.
Right. No, it is. And that's the sad thing about it is like, I mean, there's somebody that damn good 75 made a great point, like just the hype of Spider-Man, which it deserves to be hyped. I mean, it looks fantastic, but if Spider-Man was a multi-plat, would it get this type of hype that it's getting? And to me that's a legitimate question, because it would be look like, because this isn't the only Spider-Man game that's ever came out, and this is not the only Spider-Man game
It
that
would not be at the
Even
same
though it's
level.
is
looked
great.
at as
I mean,
that,
that would be
It wouldn't
good.
be at the same level, man. I can
No,
guarantee
it
it
wouldn't.
wouldn't be at the same level.
No.
And we do have a question, from the chat to the panel. So, question for the panel: if PlayStation 5 comes out before Project Scarlet, will you play your multiplats on the PS5 or stick with the Xbox One X? Now, I do have to say, and this is Face 23, Brooklyn, New York, BKNY. First off, we don't know hardly anything about the PlayStation 5 as of yet. All right, so when the rumors start rolling in, and as soon as some of them kind of get solidified as that's what's coming and stuff like that, that's why I'm really looking forward to 2019, is to hear about these new pieces of hardware, to dig into the rumors and see which ones could be true, which ones people are just kind of like talking out their ass and stuff like that. At the end of the day, with me not knowing what's going on with PlayStation 5 right now, I would say I'm sticking with the X right now. All right. I have my biggest gaming library between the PS4 and the Xbox One is undoubtedly my Xbox One. So that would be kind of where I would lean right now, because I just don't know what's coming with the PS5 yet. But I'm going to turn it to the panel. Dark, we'll start with you. What do you think, man? PS5 comes out first. Would you stick with the X, or would you roll with the 5, man?
If we're only talking about multiplats, I'm definitely going to stick with the X, man. I mean, I can't see myself buying another console if the PS5 is only going to have multiplats. But if we're talking about exclusives, I'm going to go to the console, whatever console has the best exclusives. And I've already said this before. I haven't said it in on podcasts, but I've said it in party chats and stuff like that on Xbox to other people and friends, that if PlayStation 5 comes out with the like a couple of the exclusives that I want to play at the time, I'm gonna get the PlayStation 5 before I get the Scarlet. But then, of course, I'll definitely get the Scarlet, because I want the
new
Xbox,
hardware,
because
yeah.
I want the new hardware. So I mean, it's just, even though I prefer Xbox, but if PlayStation's gonna give me the better exclusives, then I'm gonna go there and play that. And for the time, even though I'll still be able to get all my multi-plats for my X, so it doesn't really matter, at that point.
Yeah, I gotta say, Mela Husk in the chat. How are you gonna shout me out, but then tell people to vote for K Mega? Guess what? K Mega had the winning gameplay. You can't vote for K Mega, so you need to vote for somebody else. Yeah.
Appreciate
Damn.
it, bro. Appreciate
I
it. That's what
appreciate
I'm
the
talking
shout out,
about.
definitely.
Freaking
That's
Mega's
what I'm
got his
talking about.
minions,
Shout
getting
out
in the
me
chat.
out.
They're
It was
great
like,
supporters.
vote
I
for
love
K-Mega.
the supporters.
His
Yes. Vote K Mega. Hey,
his
your
little
wife is a K
heathens.
Mega supporter. Watch out, bot. You know what I'm saying? She'd always say, yeah.
yeah. Be
Hey
quiet.
man, you don't got Crap Gamer on your side. Freaking Don's
I don't
taking
need
that
I'm
crap.
working on getting the mooch to start promoting me a little bit.
You know what?
It's-
We need to
feel
hurry up
like-
and get that mooch, that Crossfire
I might-
/ G promotion pop.
I might-
Get mooch on my side.
I don't know. I might be like, Mooch, I think you need a little bit more Otter and Goldblum in your life, so you should vote for me.
Anyway.
All right, well, let's move back to this. We'll go with the Don. Don, PS5 comes out first. You have an Xbox One X. Where do you think you're gonna go for the multiplats, man? You gonna go PS5 or One X? Question from the chat.
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, it just depends if PS5 has enough compelling things. It's hard to ask any gamer to give up their library. And it goes for PlayStation gamer too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we flip the question around and the Scarlet comes out first. If you're a PlayStation gamer and you have a huge library and that stuff's going to be able to come with you, hypothetically, right? Then why would you make the switch? Like that's a difficult thing to do, and
it's hard to switch over to a different piece of hardware. Especially, when we're looking at the new series, they're both talking backwards compatibility. So they're both talking bringing your library to the newer system. So yeah, it would be hard to switch. Man.
I mean, if it was like maybe like a 3-year span or something like that, like a gap between that, yeah, I would switch over, right? But if it's like a year, and that's where I primarily play already, and that's where my friend base is. I'm not. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to switch over. Doesn't mean I'm opposed to buying the hardware. I'll probably still buy the hardware when it comes out. Probably just won't be playing my multiplats for that short period of time
Right.
until on the PlayStation 5 until whatever the next thing on Xbox coming out, whatever Scarlet ends up being. So, I mean, and I don't blame gamers for doing the opposite of what I'm doing. Like, play where you want to play. As far as I'm concerned, these hardware platform providers have to provide an ecosystem you want to engage in. They got to earn your dollar, whatever that means to you as an individual gamer. So,
and I gotta say, another thing looking at it is the Xbox One X. We can all admit, like, the performance level on that thing is absolutely amazing. So, looking at the bells and whistles from the next set of hardware, like, they would have to be a lot for you to, like Don said, it's hard for you to leave your library off to the side and go somewhere else. So there would have to be a lot there to pull somebody away, from the system. And that, just like Don said, you could reverse it. It would be hard for people to pull away, from their PS4 and stuff, and to leave that library. There has to be a lot there to be offered for people to consider it,
And that's why you got to have like other things, other X factors into the equation. That's why you got to have things like Game Pass, like on the Sony side of things. Like if you throw Game Pass in there, and you're like, well, that changes the conversation entirely. If Sony had a similar service, because then I'd be like, well, yeah, I don't have very many, and I own PlayStation 4 Pro right now, but I don't have a huge library on there, but they throw in something like a Game Pass, and I buy a new hardware, and I pretty much have an instant library of things I can play already, without having to invest a ton. Then that makes it way more compelling. So I want Sony to offer a service like that as a gamer.
You are making great points, because like as of right now, when it comes to Xbox, they have Game Pass, which $10 a month, you get so many games. Imagine how big that library is going to be when the new hardware comes out, and that would make it a little bit easier, to switch over to the Xbox side in comparison, because $10 a month. And you have a library of games that you can dive into. Not only that, first-party games are day and date. So imagine, the launch lineup when it comes to the Scarlet, being available in Game Pass day and date. That would be absolutely huge as well.
Yeah, imagine if you had Ghost of Tsushima that was in their version of Game Pass and it's there day one. Like, yeah, I'm going to buy that.
Yeah, incredible.
And I'm going to buy it onto the most powerful hardware that particular ecosystem has to offer, so I can experience the game to the best of its ability, right? So, like, I'm not ashamed to say that even if I prefer one platform over the other as an individual gamer, not necessarily as a developer, that's a separate subject altogether. But as a gamer, like, I'm not opposed to that. I don't see any shame in that. Like, as far as that goes, like, I'm not invested that heavily, as far as what I prefer.
Yeah, definitely. K Mega, what do you think? PlayStation 5 comes out first. When dealing with multiplats, where are you going? Are you going to go PS5 or are you going to stay with the X?
No, well, I mean, there's a big difference. It's just like what pretty much everybody said, is that, like, on my Xbox, I have I've got close to 500 people that are friends on my list, and on the PlayStation, I have maybe 15. So, you know what I'm saying? So, like, if it's a single player experience, of course, I'll be on the PlayStation 5. I mean, I'll get the PlayStation 5 pretty much day one, especially if it's coming out before the Scarlet. But I'll just do what I've always done. Like, I'll just double dip. I'll buy the multiplat for the if it's the multiplat that I really want to play, I'll play it on the on the PlayStation 5, and probably play on that more because it'll be the more prettier game on my television. But then, but if the Scarlet comes out a year later, like this person is trying to bring out, then I'll be right back to where I was, because I have more. The ecosystem is more friendly for me. I have a bigger friend list over there, and the fact that, I'm saying, I'm pretty sure that it'll perform and play better because it had that year's time off. So, I'm saying, it is, I'm saying, I'll have both. It's not going to be an issue. So, I'll just continue to play them just like I've always have. I'll be playing probably on the PS5 on certain games for more, and then be right back on the X doing what I always do, playing other games.
I want to give Face 23 a shout out. That was a great question, man. It led to some really good conversation. I do appreciate that. Guys, we do accept questions. We can't catch them all the time in the chat, but I do my best to keep an eye on the chat, see what's going on, and if there's anything I can pull out that you guys are talking about, I will, and we'll talk about it here on the panel. But guys, with that being said, we pretty much hit the end of the show. There was one topic that we didn't get to talk about, and I think a couple people on the panel are happy about that. Maybe I will do a show later on this week. We'll do a live show.
Just do your video. Just do a video.
No, we're gonna do a show, man. I like going live, dude. I'm gonna do it.
I like going live too, but yeah, just make sure that you don't hit me up talking about it.
I'm gonna do it next gen style. Well, I'm thinking about asking the angry
King
Otter
all
himself
have
when
your
he's
people
available.
call my people.
Yeah, your people call my people,
and my people
We'll
will
see,
ignore.
yeah.
Like he's like, have your people call my people. My people will ignore.
So wait, you
your
just mean
people's phone
100
call.
then? Your people?
yeah, just call 100, and then 100 give you his answer.
Shout out to 100, man.
Yeah, shout out to
Oh,
100.
yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, man, we're winding down. We gotta get the outros. Again, huge shout out to the chat. You guys were absolutely fire tonight. We had almost 100 people watching. Pretty much, that's becoming a typical thing. It's gaining more and more steam. So thank you guys for all the support. If you like the gameplay, you like the topics, definitely hit that thumbs up button. Let's start with the Don. Let's get the Don's outros in here. And any plugs for us, Don?
No, not this week. Just follow me on Twitter, which is the Don_KTR. Also, make sure to follow Bot so you can vote on gameplay.
The poll is up. It is pinned to
Pinned to
my
the top,
Twitter
right?
account. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's easy to get to.
So you don't even have to follow him. You just have to go to his Twitter profile.
But you can still follow.
Look, in case if you're opposed to following Bot, you can still vote. It's still okay.
I'm trying to catch up to snaps. It's a hard deal, man.
I mean, that's a noble cause, but I don't. I mean,
you don't
snaps.
think it's
Come
gonna
on, man.
happen? Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I could do it. I could do it. I was ahead of her in the beginning, and then she just blew right by me. Yeah.
You're a hairy guy, and she is a woman. You know what I'm saying?
I am not sexist, sir. What does that have to do with anything?
Hey, man,
Okay?
look. I just thinking of that.
But look at Crap's post on the voting. Just look.
Oh no, hold on. Yo. All right. Well, while I'm looking, let's get K Mega in here. We got to do a 5-minute outro here, and I know K Mega does a lot of stuff throughout the week. So, dude, what do you got for us, man?
All right, man. Look, let's just break it down. You know what I'm saying? Relax, calm down. You know what I'm
Shout out to
saying?
Intro Media. I did it.
I was just about to do that. I was going to make a big shout out to Intro Media Gaming. I was going to do that first, like I did last week. Okay, so big shout out to Intro Media Gaming.
No.
Check me out on the GRG podcast. You know what I'm saying, on my channel every Friday night, 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. It's 6:30 Pacific. I keep saying 5:30. It's 6:30 Pacific. And somebody asked me what time was it in the UK. Unfortunately, it's like 2:30 a.m. But you know what I'm saying? If you're up, go ahead and listen to us every Friday night, man. We have a good time. We talk about a lot of crazy stuff, and a lot of we talk about the normal stuff that's go around, but then we also bring up topics that nobody else really talks about, which is really fun. So come check us out. Also, BGST, we do our thing. I don't know why Bot don't be shouting out BGST. You know what I'm saying? Well, I got to do it. Anyway, so
I shout out BGST all over the place. What are you talking about, man?
Okay, all right. And then you know what I'm saying, whenever, hey Bot, I'm feeling like you. I'm feeling left on an island right here. It's just the gamer. There is no dev. I don't know where the dev in the game is.
Hey, you can call me.
You didn't start the show and go live, and then you're like,
You can call on the Don.
Yeah. So.
See, the difference between Bot and Mega is Bot actually reached out to me.
Oh, damn.
That's the difference.
Hey man, if I
Bob
see
goes,
you at a
Bob
party,
put-
I'm not gonna
Bob put
disturb.
some real effort into that. He's like, "Where you at?" He's like calling me on my personal number. He's tweeting me, all sorts of
sending
stuff.
I
text
don't bother
messages.
people. I don't bother people, man.
I
Like
felt
I
like
see
an
you in-
ex-girlfriend. Like, come on,
Yeah.
Don, come back.
like I see Bob and them in the party and stuff. I don't jump in because I'm like, you know what? I don't know what's going to be in there. You know, he could be having a Trump supporter in there or something. I have no idea. No,
It's true.
yeah, anyway, so
It's
no,
true.
no, I'm just playing. But anyway, no, yeah, just check us out. Then, of course, the next podcast. Also, I've been streaming here a lot lately. I got my son put me on a challenge. He's like, hey, if you're gonna stream, do it for real. Don't be no punk about it. And I was like, well, he didn't say be a punk about it. I slap him in his mouth.
No,
But
well, he said it in his head. He's like, yo, I can't
yeah,
believe my dad.
if you
being
go
a punk
stream,
about
do
this.
it right. So stream every day. So I've been streaming pretty much every day, and it's been fun. Like I played PUBG, and I haven't played PUBG since like I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. And oh my God, it was so fun. And then we've been doing fight night, whatever else that we've been doing. I'm just streaming. I'm just having a great time doing streaming. So yeah, come check me out on Mixer. And man, hey, that's it, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mega,
That was the longest outro in gaming history.
Shut your ass up, Otto. Your shit's gonna be quick. 'Cause you only got
Oh,
things to
that's
talk
right.
about. Next
That's right.
podcast
I forgot.
And the Salty Podcast.
You didn't get to talk
Get
very
out of
much.
here. Get out of here.
Yo, Mega, I gotta ask you because you're into sports, and I put this out to the rest of the panel as well. I'm gonna be starting a new kind of like a streaming show on my channel. It's gonna deal with Power Star Golf. Now, I don't know. Have you played Power Star Golf, man?
No, I haven't. I need to though.
All right. You can get the first couple courses absolutely free. All right, and that's what I'm going to deal with. I'm going to deal with the first couple courses. What it does is, if you're on my friends list, it'll show me your score and stuff. And if you guys want to participate, guys, go and play Power Star Golf. Make sure you're like we're on each other's friends list or whatnot. And I'm gonna do it at least once a week. I'm gonna go in and either play like the front 9, the back 9. I don't think I'm gonna do all 18, but I'm gonna pick from my friends list, the top scores or whatnot, and I'm gonna try to beat you guys. All right, and I'm gonna do it live. So whether or not, definitely check out Power Star Golf. It looks cartoony, but it's a lot of fun to play.
Okay.
And I get into golf games, man. I love like Outlaw Golf on the original Xbox. It was one of my favorite games to go in and mess around and play. And I'm not bad, guys. I'm pretty good at Power Star, so it's gonna be interesting. So Mega,
Now I feel like you're bad just because you had to explain that.
Mega, I challenge you, man. Post a score on the front 9 of the first course, and I'll go
He
in.
doesn't have any room on his hard drive. What are you talking about?
I know. I gotta take something else out. Shit, damn. But I'll go ahead and I'll download it. Yeah, I'll go ahead.
All right.
Because somebody else told me to download Hyper. Hyper says a free to play game.
Hyper
It looks-
Universe.
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
good.
It looks pretty cool. So
It's a MOBA. If you like MOBA games.
I can dig a mobile.
I don't speak
Yeah, if you
French.
like League of Legends or something like that. But it's a
Yeah,
site.
I've played WoW. You know what I'm saying? When I stayed with my
WoW is not a
my
MOBA.
friend Biscuit. You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
So,
That's an MMORPG.
it's whatever. And I'm looking forward to Black Desert. So come on, man, chill out. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me.
That's
get
an
the outro
MMORPG.
for-
A MOBA is a massive online battle arena.
Well, okay, asshole, get.
All right. I'm stepping in right now.
We're done.
Let's get the outro for the guy who, in his mind, he's thinking I saved the best for last. That would be Dark
Lit.
Optimus. Yo, Dark. Why don't you let people know what you're up to throughout the week and let them know where they can get a hold of you, dude.
Yeah, all I gotta say is that this was a fantastic show. I'm just gonna say, Pred who?
Because you was here. Anyway.
Wow.
You didn't hear me, did you? You didn't hear me, Mega.
Yo, Mega's about to blame it on the alcohol. Yeah.
All
right.
Anyway,
Well,
so-
you guys can find me on Twitter, Dark Optimus. You can also
What were
find
you
me
gonna
on
say
Xbox
about
Live
Fred,
at the
though?
same
I want to
name.
hear. What were you gonna say about Fred, man?
I said. Well, now I forgot. Damn it.
No, selective memory.
Oh no, I said Pred who.
Oh,
Oh, see.
Oh no, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
No. Shout out to Pred who couldn't be
I'm
here.
gonna
Happy
clip
birthday
that
to
and
you,
send it
man.
to Pred too, by the way.
Well, it's his birthday, man. We gotta say happy birthday to him. Nobody
That's
said
right.
happy birthday to him.
Fred. He's
So
over here,
happy birthday, brother.
He's got long toenails, so he's gotta take his time to clip them. So.
But no, you guys can find me on Twitter at Darkonomus. You can also find me on Xbox Live, the same name. You guys can check me out on TSGP. That is the Saltiest Gaming Podcast every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And you guys can always find me here hanging out with the Next Podcast.
Nice. And guys, that might be the longest outros in podcasting history. Shout out to everybody in the chat who is still here waiting through all the outros. I really do appreciate it. Again, guys, you know.
You haven't heard GRG's outro.
Well, dude, you got like everybody in the gaming community on one panel. So, like.
Oh, shit.
Dude, your panel, I know the hangout. The line goes all the way across, man. All the way across.
That's all right.
Again, thank you for all the support. I'm just going to say it the way we say it every Saturday. We will check you out next Saturday for the next podcast. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Happy birthday, Prep.
Good night, everyone.
Hey, Dark, start chasing waterfalls. That's all I got to say.